Chapter 2238 was a great bargain. Yunchujio spread her hands. This time he fainted on his own. It's none of my business. Sister Fongbing, bring us to the canteen. I'm starving. Mo Fongbing nodded blankly and brought Yunchujio and the other two out of the General Affairs office. Mo Fongbing's heart was very complicated. On one hand, she was envious of Yunchujio and the other two's points in dormitory. On the other hand, she regretted not being able to stand on the same side as them in time. The canteen was not far from the General Affairs office. The four of them soon arrived at the canteen. The canteen was very big and the inside was very clean. It was already afternoon and there were not many people eating in the canteen. Yunchujio never mistreated herself. Therefore she ordered a big table and the four of them chatted as they ate. Sister Fongbing, how are the classes arranged? Every day is half a day of classes. One spiritual energy class and one cultivator 6 techniques class. The afternoon is free to be arranged. Every half a month we have 3 days of rest. Yunchujio nodded. This was similar to the arrangement of Tianyuan Academy. However, she didn't know what the spiritual energy class would teach. After all, everyone basically knew high-level physical transformation techniques. What else could they teach? After the four of them finished eating, Yunchujio packed a lot of food before leaving the canteen. According to the courtyard number marked on the dormitory jade plate, the four of them found the corresponding courtyard. This was 3 courtyards connected together, right in the middle of the dormitory district. Mo Fongbing saw the courtyard of Yunchujio and the other two and could not help but be envious. Sister Fongchao, the dormitory that Teacher Zhang gave you is indeed the best. Although our dormitory is 1 room per person, we share a courtyard with a few people. Yours is a separate courtyard. Yunchujio said proudly, that's true. If he dares to play tricks, I won't beat him to death. Yunchujio chose a courtyard on the east side. Jinji naturally chose a courtyard next to hers. The westernmost courtyard belonged to Shui Wuji. Sister Fongbing, where is your dormitory? Mo Fongbing pointed with her finger. The south side is the dormitory of the day class of each grade. The east side is the dormitory of the month class of each grade, and the north side is the dormitory of the star class of each grade. Yunchujio nodded. It seemed that this dormitory had a hierarchy. They had caused a ruckus in the miscellaneous affairs department, and it was a blessing in disguise. Otherwise, it would be inconvenient to share a courtyard with others. Especially for someone like her who had too many secrets. Mo Fongbing saw that there was nothing else for her to do, so she turned around and left. Yunchujio and the other two entered their respective courtyards. Yunchujio entered her own courtyard and sized it up. She was very satisfied with it. Not only was the room fully furnished, but the courtyard was also spacious enough to have a barbecue or something. It was completely enough. What Yunchujio did not know was that on the first day of school, she was completely famous in Xingtian Academy. Hey, did you guys hear? This year's freshman had a badass with lightning. He beat up that horse-faced person in the General Affairs department. That horse-faced person was beaten up quite a few times. He was miserable and screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Really? That student must have been expelled, right? After all, beating up the teacher would deduct 200 points. No. That's why that student is so awesome. She got the law enforcement to reward them with 1,000 points each. Adding the initial 100 points after deducting 200 points, there's still 900 points left. That's not all. That horseface even gave the 3 best dorms to Mo Fongchao. How many seniors failed to get those 3 dorms? Who would have thought that Mo Fongchao and the other two would cause such a ruckus and reap such a huge benefit? Chapter 2239 The Black Sheep. She hadn't slept well these few days, so that night, Yunchujio went to bed early to rest. After a good night's sleep and breakfast, Yunchujio and the other two went to the classroom. The students they met on the way pointed at the 3 of them and discussed among themselves. They were talking about what happened at the General Affairs Department the day before, and even the 3 of them at Tiandao Cliff was treated as a topic of conversation. Yunchujio and the other two were all doing things their own way, so they didn't care about it at all. They followed the location that Mo Fongbing told them yesterday and successfully found the first grade star class classroom. After entering the classroom, Yunchujio couldn't help but feel very surprised. The classroom of Xingtian Academy was very different from that of Tianyuan Academy. The classroom of Tianyuan Academy was nothing more than the teacher's podium in front and the desk below. However, the classroom of Xingtian Academy was round. In the middle of the classroom was a rather large round podium, surrounded by a few rings of students' desks. At this moment, there were already quite a number of students in the star class. When they saw Yun Chujio and the other two, their gazes were all different. Some looked at them curiously, some looked at them disdainfully, and some looked at them with jealousy and hatred. Mo Fongbing was just about to stand up and greet Yun Chujio when a woman in white beside her said disdainfully, "If you are close to them, move to their courtyard. Don't squeeze in with us." The other woman in pink also echoed, "That's right. If you want to climb up the social ladder, hurry up and go. Our small temple can't accommodate you." Mo Fongbing bit her lip. The two women who spoke were people who lived in the same courtyard as her. If she insisted on talking to Yun Chujio, they would definitely reject her. Mo Fongbing weighed the pros and cons and lowered her head. She did not greet Yun Chujio. She felt that Yun Chujio's showy personality would cause trouble sooner or later. It was better to keep a certain distance from her now so that she would not be implicated. Yun Chujio was so smart. She saw that Mo Fongbing did not look at her and guessed that it was close. She could not help but sigh in her heart. She initially thought that Mo Fongbing was someone who knew what was going on. She did not expect that she would be so cowardly when she encountered something. In fact, Yun Chujio and Jinji had already discussed it. They were prepared to let Mo Fongbing move into Jinji's courtyard after class today. They did not blame Mo Fongbing for not jumping off the cliff, nor did they blame Mo Fongbing for not helping to beat up Teacher Zhang. After all, they did not have a deep friendship. They did not expect Mo Fongbing to want to draw a line between them. Forget it, since that was the case, then from now on the bridge will return to the bridge and the road will return to the road. If Mo Fongbing knew Yun Chujio and the others' original plans, her intestines would probably be green with regret. The students had all arrived one after another. A moment later, Teacher Dong of the star class entered. Teacher Dong walked onto the round platform and swept his gaze across the crowd. His gaze paused on Yun Chujio and the other two for a moment, but his gaze wasn't very friendly. Teacher Dong said with a gloomy face, "All of you should feel proud to be able to become students of the Xingtian Academy. I only have two requirements for all of you. One is to cultivate well, and the other is to not cause any trouble for me. Some students not only have low spiritual power levels, but they also cause trouble on the first day of school. I don't want to see such a thing happen again. If you do it again, please leave our star class. Such a black sheep will sooner or later implicate our star class. Do you all hear me clearly?" Hearing Teacher Dong's words, Mo Fongbing suddenly felt that her decision just now was right. Mo Fongchao and the others would cause big trouble sooner or later. Chapter 2240. Spiritual Power Illusion Technique. The students of the star class were not stupid. They immediately understood that Teacher Dong was talking about Yun Chujio and the other two. All kinds of gazes immediately turned to Yun Chujio and the other two. Yun Chujio's expression was as calm as usual. Although Shui Wuji and Jinji did not look too good, they were still relatively calm. Teacher Dong snorted coldly and continued, "Most of you should have already mastered the high-level spiritual power materialization technique. Do you feel that the learning of spiritual power materialization has come to an end?" Yun Chujio's heart moved. Although this Teacher Dong was snobbish, his teaching level seemed to be pretty good. She would think about it after a while. Teacher Dong saw that no one said anything. He continued, "If you think that way, then you are very wrong. The high-level materialization of spiritual power that you have mastered is only the beginning of materialization of spiritual power. The highest level of materialization of spiritual power is to be moved at will. You can materialize whatever you want." One of the students raised his hand and gestured for Teacher Dong to nod, indicating that he could ask questions. That student then said, "Teacher Dong, didn't you say that the spiritual beasts that each character materializes are fixed? If it's really as you said, then can the spiritual beasts be replaced with other ones?" This student's words represented the inner thoughts of many students. Everyone turned to look at Teacher Dong. "What you said is right and wrong. When you use a high-level materialization technique, the spiritual beasts that you materialize are your intrinsic spiritual beasts, and their attack power is also the strongest. However, if you master the spirit power phantom technique, you can materialize to assist the spiritual beasts and help them attack," Teacher Dong explained. Everyone immediately exploded. They had never heard of such a saying before. Could Teacher Dong's words be understood as saying that a person could have other auxiliary spirit beasts besides the natal spirit beast? Didn't this mean that the attack power would double or multiply by several times? There were also some people who arrogantly did not participate in the discussion. They were all related to first-class families, so they had long heard of this. Teacher Dong, other than the intrinsic spirit beast, how many auxiliary spirit beasts can that person materialize? A classmate asked excitedly. Theoretically, there is no limit to the number, but this has a direct relationship with everyone's spirit energy reserve and the strength of their spiritual sense. Generally speaking, people at the level of Ling Xian and spiritual void could only materialize one auxiliary spirit beast, but the strength of the attack was different. People at the level of Ling Kong could conjure 2 support spirit beasts at most. Of course, if one's talent isn't good, even if one's spirit power has reached the level, they wouldn't be able to conjure a support spirit beast. Teacher Dong's words were like a basin of cold water, instantly dampening the enthusiasm of the crowd by more than half. At first they thought that they could materialize many support spirit beasts, but they didn't expect that even Ling Kong could only conjure 2. When Teacher Dong saw this, he sneered and said, "Do you guys think that this skill is useless? Wrong, very wrong. When 2 enemies fight, any small matter can decide life and death. If you have one more support spirit beast than the enemy, your chances of winning will greatly increase. Moreover, do you think that 2 support beasts are the end point? As far as I know, the almighty experts of the Chaos Origin sect and the Killing Origin sect can even materialize 10 auxiliary beasts. It's a big taboo to aim too high. Go back and reflect on yourself." When the students heard Teacher Dong's words, they naturally began to discuss animatedly. At this moment, Shui Wuji and Jinji were thinking that little Jiu could release a group of spirit piglets. What was she doing? Could she be even more awesome than the mighty figures of the Chaos Origin sect and the Killing Origin sect? Chapter 2241 drew a clear line. Yun Chujiu herself was also puzzled. The higher the spiritual power, the more spiritual beasts would appear? Then what was her group of piglets? However, it was also true. When she used the high-grade spiritual power materialization spell, after the purple piglets appeared, the silver piglets of spiritual power disappeared. This could also be considered a natal spiritual beast, right? Teacher Dong saw that Yun Chujiu and the other 2 were puzzled, and he couldn't help but despise them in his heart. He heard that these 3 were all from the Tianyuan continent, and their comprehension was indeed too poor. Although that Shui Wuji had a mutated wind spirit root, his comprehension wasn't very good, and he couldn't even understand the words. After Teacher Dong coughed, everyone quieted down, and Teacher Dong began to explain the spiritual power phantom technique. Of course, this was only the first lesson. What he explained were some general theories, so everyone listened in a daze. Teacher Dong was clearly prepared for this. When the lesson was about to end, he said, "The spirit power phantom technique cannot be learned overnight. Don't be in a hurry to achieve success. Your top priority now is to cultivate diligently and work hard to raise your spirit power. Especially for some people, they have to be self-aware. If their foundations are weak, they have to fly first. Don't drag down our star class." Yun Chujiu cursed in her heart. "Pooey. You're not a fucking pig. You still have a leg to stand on." Moreover, the star class was originally a poor class. It was not certain who would be the one dragging down who. After Teacher Dong finished speaking, he turned around and left the classroom. The woman in white who had mocked Mo Fongbing earlier and the woman in pink looked at each other. The woman in pink raised her voice and said to Mo Fongbing, "Mo Fongbing, what's your relationship with those 3 good-for-nothings? You're the daughter of a 3rd-grade family after all. You wouldn't be willing to stoop down and hang out with them, right?" Mo Fongbing was both angry and anxious. Although she intended to draw a line between herself and Yun Chujiu and the other 2, she still wanted to leave some leeway. After all, she didn't know anyone else in the Sky Punisher Academy. Now that the woman in pink asked this question, she was in a difficult position. If she drew a clear line with Yun Chujiu and the other 2, she could only completely cut off all ties in the future. If she didn't draw a clear line, the other people in the star class would probably isolate her. What should she do? Seeing that Mo Fongbing didn't say anything, the woman in pink curled her lips. "What? Seems like you're with them. Since that's the case, you can go sit with them. Don't squeeze in with us." When Mo Fongbing was in the Mo family, she had always thought that she was superior to others. However, in the Xingtian Academy, because of her low spiritual power, she always felt that she couldn't lift her head up. Although the students of the Xingtian Academy didn't come from a high background, a third-class family was nothing at all. Many people were related to first-class and second-class families. Although some people came from poor backgrounds, their aptitude was good enough. Therefore, they didn't look up to a family like the Mo family, which was barely able to squeeze into the third-class family. The things that Mo Fongbing was proud of were broken, so her cold and proud shell was also broken. She bit her lips and said with difficulty, Mo Fongchao is only a member of the Western Continent branch of the Mo family. I don't have a deep relationship with her. Shui Wuji and Jinji, I didn't know them before. Hearing Mo Fangbing's words, the woman in pink smiled proudly at Yun Chujio. Then she said to Mo Fongbing, Fongbing, I told you. How can a third-class family's daughter be friends with those three good-for-nothings? Don't worry, we'll take care of you in the future. Before Mo Fongbing could answer, she heard Yun Chujio say clearly, Sister Fongbing, did you mean what you said just now? Are you trying to draw a clear line with us? Chapter 2242 Talisman Seal Class Mo Fongbing did not dare to look into Yun Chujio's eyes at all. She stammered, Mo Fongbing, in the future, let's not interact too much. I want to focus on my cultivation. Yun Chujio sneered, alright, since that's the case, then let's be safe. I hope you won't regret it. When Mo Fongbing heard Yun Chujio's words, her heart suddenly felt empty. She bit her lip and convinced herself that not only did Mo Fongchao and the other two have low spiritual power and no background, but they were also bold enough to cause trouble sooner or later. It was not wrong to draw a clear line with them. Moreover, the few people she met on the street seemed to be from a first-class family. Sooner or later they would settle the score with Mo Fongchao. Even if great-grandfather knew about what happened here, he would definitely agree with her drawing a clear line with them. Jinji looked on coldly from the side. She only had one comment on Mo Fangbing's actions. She was extremely stupid. Although little Jio had a temperamental personality, she was an extremely protective person. She would never be worried that she would betray her friends if they were friends. Moreover, she would risk her life for her friends. Mo Fongbing actually gave up on such a friend and chose those idiots. She was really stupid. Yun Chujio was very calm. It was fine if she did not want such a friend. She did not want to stab her in the back at a critical moment. After a while, a teacher walked in. I am the teacher who teaches you talisman lessons. I know that most of you will not choose to take talisman lessons in the future. However, a little more understanding of the types and characteristics of talismans will definitely be helpful to you when you are facing enemies in the future. Therefore, the first grade course is mainly about the types and characteristics of Dao talismans. When you are in the second grade, the students who choose to take Dao talismans will come into contact with the drawing of high-level Dao talismans. After hearing this, Yun Chujio was so angry that she wanted to bang her head against the wall. Who would be willing to listen to the types and characteristics of these Dao talismans? They had to be practical. They had to be practical. She came to Xingtian Academy to learn how to draw Dao talismans. How about going to the Heartless Sword sect? However, when she thought about the inheritance she had obtained from the Heaven Dao Cliff, she felt a little comforted. At the very most, she could just learn it by herself. If she really couldn't, she could still go to the Heaven Dao Cliff to extort a few more inheritances. After all, she still had the recording stone in her hands. The conversation from that day had all been recorded. 2 hours later, the talisman's lesson ended. Yun Chujio and the other two had lunch in the canteen before strolling slowly towards the dormitory. As soon as the three of them arrived at the gate of the courtyard, they saw a group of people waiting for them with unfriendly gazes. You guys came back just in time. My brother and the others have taken a fancy to these 3 courtyards. You guys should vacate the courtyard and find another place to stay. The one who spoke was Diao Xiaoyan Zhu Jingtai. Behind Zhu Jingtai stood 3 people. One of them was Diao Xiaoyan, and his appearance was 60% similar to Zhu Jingtai's. The other 2 were rather decent-looking and they curled their lips as they looked at Yun Chujio and the other 2. Yun Chujio glanced at Zhu Jingtai. The dormitory is allocated by the General Affairs Department. We don't have the final say. If you want to switch courtyards, go find the General Affairs Department. Stinky girl, don't be so shameless. My elder brother and the others are seniors. If they want your courtyard, it means that they look up to you. Today you have to give way or not, or else you won't be able to enter the dormitory. Block the courtyard gate for me. I want to see if this stinky girl will make way. Sure enough, Zhu Jingtai's lackeys blocked the gate of the 3 courtyards. They looked at Yun Chujio and the others with a face full of ridicule. Chapter 2243 was too brutal. Yun Chujio glanced at those people. With her abnormal memory, she recognized that these people were all freshmen of this year. They were probably in the same class as Zhu Jingtai. Yun Chujio looked at the 3 people behind Zhu Jingtai and said indifferently, "Seniors, what do you say?" Diao Xiaoyan curled his lips. "Do you not understand human language? Didn't you hear what my brother said? The 3 of us brothers will take good care of these 3 courtyards. Hurry up and give them up. Although fighting is prohibited in the academy, there are plenty of ways to kill you. You'd better be sensible." Yun Chujio curled her lips and ignored Diao Xiaoyan. Instead, she walked to the entrance of her own courtyard and took out a large kitchen knife. She said to the students blocking the entrance of the courtyard, "Do you want to get out of the way immediately, or do you want me to bleed you?" The students were stunned for a moment before they burst into laughter. "Mo Fengchao, are you out of your mind? Don't tell me that you can't beat us. Fighting is prohibited in the academy. Do you want to be expelled?" Yun Chujio glanced at them. She took out a thick stack of superior-grade burst talismans with her left hand. "Although I can't beat you, I can at least hurt the enemy by 1,000 and damage myself by 800, right? Do you think that if these talismans explode, you will be seriously injured or I will be seriously injured? As for expulsion, don't worry, I still have 900 points. If I beat you guys up, it'll only deduct 200 points at most. That's just a small amount of money. However, do you guys have 200 points to deduct?" Those students were all dumbstruck. Fuck. Wasn't this black fragrant grass too savage? She actually planned to perish together. Was she crazy? Moreover, the talisman was in her hands. If she threw it out, she would definitely be the least injured. What was worse was that she was right. If the incident happened and she was punished, they wouldn't be able to recover either. They didn't have 200 points for the law enforcement department to deduct. At that time they would be expelled from school. Although those students were Zhu Jingtai's lackeys, they weren't worth risking their own future just to please him. Thus they all cowered and slowly gave up their courtyard gates. Shui Wuji and Jin Ji naturally followed suit, so those students could only give up their courtyard gate. Zhu Jingtai was so angry that he jumped in front of Yun Chujio. He pointed at Yun Chujio's nose and scolded, "Damn girl, stop right there. Don't think that you're so great just because you have points. My brother and the others are not to be trifled with." Hearing Zhu Jingtai's clamor, Yun Chujio gave Shui Wuji and Jin Ji a look. The 3 of them suddenly rushed forward and attacked Zhu Jingtai at the same time. Zhu Jingtai was shouting arrogantly, but he did not expect Yun Chujio and the others to attack him at the slightest disagreement. Therefore, when he realized that things were not right and wanted to resist, Yun Chujio's big kitchen knife was already placed on his neck. Yun Chujio exerted force on Zhu Jingtai's neck, and a wound immediately appeared on Zhu Jingtai's neck. Fresh blood flowed out and Zhu Jingtai cried out in pain. Diao Xiaoyan and the other 2 lackeys were all stunned. They thought that Yun Chujio was just saying it, but they didn't expect her to actually dare to attack him. She was too bold. Zhu Jingtai was in pain and angry. He shouted at Diao Xiaoyan, "Brother, save me. Brother, save me." Diao Xiaoyan said viciously, "Release my brother immediately or I will kill you." Yun Chujio cut Zhu Jingtai's neck again. "I'm not afraid of threats. Let's not talk about whether you can kill me or not. If you dare to make a move, you will be fired." Chapter 2244 had been corrupted. The reason why Yun Chujio was so certain was because she had studied the rules of the academy. The reward points for each test were very limited and the first place was only 100 points. Although Diao Xiaoyan and the other 2 had higher spiritual power levels than them, since they were able to let their underlings fight for the courtyard, their results would not be much better. Naturally, their points would not exceed 200 points. Even if they could exceed 200 points, they would not be willing to be deducted just like that. Sure enough, after Diao Xiaoyan heard Yun Chujio's words, he hesitated for a moment and said viciously, "Mo Fengchao, you win. You let my brother go and we don't want your courtyard anymore." Yun Chujio raised her eyebrows. "What you said is easy. If you want to forget it, we don't want to forget it. I'm in a very bad mood right now. I just want to beat up a few people to vent my anger. Anyway, it's only a matter of 200 points. Do you want us to beat you up or beat up your little brother? Or do you want us to beat up those lackeys?" Diao Xiaoyan was so angry that his eyes were red. Mo Fengchao, don't push your luck. You're going to hang around Xingtian Academy in the future. If you don't want to lose your life for no reason, then quickly release him. TSK, looks like you have chosen to let your younger brother get beaten up. Then I will be more respectful. As Yun Chujio said this, she had Xue Wuji and Jin Ji restrain Zhu Jingtai. Then she gave Zhu Jingtai a slap. Finally, she kicked his lower back and sent him flying. Diao Xiaoyan wanted to save Zhu Jingtai, but Xue Wuji held Yun Chujio's kitchen knife in his hand. He was afraid that Xue Wuji would really kill Zhu Jingtai, so he didn't dare to make a move. Diao Xiaoyan jumped up and caught Zhu Jingtai. When he saw Zhu Jingtai's face, which was beaten into a pig's head, he was so angry that he gnashed his teeth. Mo Fengchao, very good. Let's wait and see. Yun Chujio curled the corner of her mouth and took the kitchen knife from Xue Wuji's hand. She slashed at the tree next to her, and the tree immediately fell to the ground. Yun Chujio held the kitchen knife. She glanced at Diao Xiaoyan and those who were watching the show. Although I don't have a background and my spiritual power is low, I have 900 points. I'm not afraid of death. Damn it, whoever dares to provoke me in the future will end up like this tree. The students shrunk their necks silently. This Mo Fengchao was just like a female bandit. He was too cruel. Although her spiritual power was low, she didn't deserve to lose points because of fighting with her. It was better to not provoke her in the future. Diao Xiaoyan cast a cold glance at Yun Chujio, then helped Zhu Jingtai, who had been beaten into a pig's head, to leave. Diao Xiaoyan's two classmates also cast a sinister glance at Yun Chujio and followed her. As for those lackeys, they were afraid that Yun Chujio would look for them to settle the score, so they dispersed like a swarm of bees. Seeing that there was nothing to see, the students also dispersed like birds and beasts. Their hearts were burning with the flames of gossip, and they were ready to tell the others what they had seen. Xue Wuji and Jin Ji followed Yun Chujio into her courtyard. Jin Ji asked in confusion, "Little Jiu, didn't you always pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger? Why are you so cruel in Xingtian Academy this time?" Yun Chujio snorted coldly, "These people are either snobbish or bully the weak and fear the strong. If we are weak, they will definitely push their luck. Anyway, in the academy they don't dare to do anything openly. If they play dirty, how can they beat me? I'll play them to death." Jin Ji nodded. A word that Yun Chujio said flashed through her mind. It was dark. The sky was completely dark. Chapter 2245 Report. Little Jiu, what should we do in the afternoon? Cultivate separately? Jin Ji asked. Yun Chujio stretched lazily. Let's take a nap first. After we wake up, let's walk around and familiarize ourselves with the terrain. Xue Wuji and Jin Ji nodded, and the two returned to their respective courtyards. 2 hours later, Yun Chujio and the other two walked out of the courtyard and began to stroll around Xingtian Academy. In a fight within the Xingtian Academy, only if someone from both sides reported it would it be counted. If the people didn't report it, the officials wouldn't look into it and the law enforcement department would turn a blind eye to it. Zhu Jingtai naturally wouldn't be stupid enough to report it. If he did, Yun Chujio and the other two wouldn't do anything and his points wouldn't be enough to deduct. However, the speed at which the gossip spread was quite fast. The news of Zhu Jingtai being beaten had already spread to more than half of the Xingtian Academy. Therefore, the three of them naturally received all kinds of stares as they walked. Yun Chujio said leisurely, "Brother Wuji, Beauty Jinji, we will often encounter such a situation in the future, so you have to learn to enjoy this kind of situation." Xue Wuji raised his eyebrows. "Little sister Jiu, you underestimate me too much. When have I ever cared about the stares of others? It's just that my strength is too weak now. Otherwise, if anyone dares to gossip, I will skin him alive." Jinji was not as thick-skinned as these two, but she was not a girl who followed the rules. She snorted coldly and said, "Xue Wuji is right. Sooner or later I'll use my strength to shut them all up." The three of them chatted as they walked. When Yun Chujio saw the spirit fruit tree by the roadside, she picked a few fruits without hesitation and took a bite. The taste was really good. When the students who were eating melons saw that Yun Chujio was actually daring enough to pick spirit fruits, someone shouted, "Those fruits are from the academy, you can't pick them." Yun Chujio glanced at the student who spoke. "You want to report me? Isn't it just deducting points? What's so great about it? However, if you dare to report me, well, wait and see." When the student thought of the rumors he heard, he immediately cowered and didn't dare to make a sound. Yun Chujio curled her lips and gave the spirit fruit to Shui Wuji and Jin Ji. The three of them continued to walk around while chewing on the spirit fruit. The student who had spoken earlier did not dare to report it, but that did not mean that others did not dare to report it either. A few students secretly went to the law enforcement office. The teachers in the law enforcement office were discussing the matter of Yun Chujio beating up Zhu Jingtai. This Mo Fengchao is really audacious. She beat up the teacher yesterday and beat up her classmate today. It's really outrageous. Some instructors said with admiration, I think this Mo Fengchao is not bad. Many students choose to silently endure the bullying of the senior students. If the cultivators don't even have the courage to resist, how can they cultivate the great Tao? You're right. This Mo Fengchao's courage is commendable, but her mischievous character will cause big trouble sooner or later. That may not be the case. Although she beat up Zhu Jingtai, it was only a superficial injury. She clearly knows what she's doing. When the teachers from the law enforcement division saw the students enter, they stopped their discussion and looked at the students. What do you all want? Teacher, we have something to report. That Mo Fengbing picked the spirit fruit from the academy. She also said that it's okay to report it. Anyway, it's just a few points deducted. She's really too arrogant. The one who spoke was a woman in pink. It was Di Shanshan who was in the same courtyard as Mo Fengbing. Teacher, we can all testify that Mo Fengbing is taking advantage of her points to do whatever she wants. She's really too much. The woman in white who spoke was Shi Luoxiao, who was in the same courtyard as Mo Fengbing. The other students also chimed in. Most of these people were students from the star class. Their motive was very clear. It was best to expel the three black sheep of Mo Fengbing so as not to drag down the star class. Chapter 2246. Was she thinking of going to heaven? The law enforcement division instructors looked at each other. This Mo Fengchao was really capable of stirring up trouble. It had only been 2 days since she had entered the school. First she had beaten up the instructor of the General Affairs Division, then she had beaten up her own classmate. Now she had plucked the academy's spirit fruit. Was she thinking of going to heaven? Although some instructors felt that picking the spirit fruit wasn't a big deal, they would just deduct some points. Some teachers felt that if they carelessly settled the matter, the authority of the law enforcement department would be questioned by everyone. Thus they had to punish Mo Fengchao and the other two. Yun Chujio and the other two were leisurely strolling around while chewing on the fruit. At this moment their identity jade plates trembled at the same time. After they sent their spiritual senses in, they looked at each other and found that the matter had been exposed. Little Gio, is the law enforcement office looking for us because of Zhu Jingtai's matter or because of the spirit fruit? No matter which matter it is, we have points, so why should we be afraid of him? Let's go, we haven't been to the law enforcement office yet. Let's go for a stroll. The corner of Jin Ji's eyes twitched. Under normal circumstances, no one seemed to be willing to go to the law enforcement office for a stroll, right? When the three of them arrived at the law enforcement office, they realized that there were already many students gathered outside the law enforcement office. Obviously they had heard about this and came to watch the show. Yun Chujio pouted. No matter when or where, there would always be bystanders. The flames of gossip would continue to spread. Yun Chujio entered the law enforcement office's house. When she saw Di Shanshan, Shi Luoxiao and the others, her eyes deepened. She did not expect that other people would not dare to report it, but these idiots had come to report it. Good, very good. Xiao He had a few more people in his account book. However, this fellow heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that it was not because he had beaten up Zhu Jingtai. Stealing the spirit fruit would only deduct a few points. Did not matter. Instructor Lu said sternly, Mo Fengchao Shui Wuji Jinji, you stole the academy's spirit fruit. Do you know your mistake? Yun Chujio said with a smile, I know my mistake. I know my mistake. The two of them didn't fight. I picked them all by myself. According to the rules of the academy, 5 to 100 points will be deducted according to the severity of the plot. I only picked a total of 8 fruits. Can you deduct 5 points from me? 5 points? You dare to pick them in broad daylight. You are really audacious. At least 20 points will be deducted. Although the two of them didn't pick them, they ate them together. This is collusion. Each of them will be deducted 10 points, Instructor Lu said sternly. Yun Chujio couldn't help but feel regretful. If she had known this would happen, she would have prepared the nest for it. In any case, she would have deducted 100 points at most. Yes, she would do it when she had the chance. If these spiritual fruits were all picked, it would be enough to eat for several years. Seeing that Yun Chujio had her head lowered and didn't say anything, Teacher Liu's expression eased up a little. It seemed that she had realized her mistake. Even in his dreams, he didn't expect that this guy in front of him had already made up his mind to take the spiritual fruits together. When Teacher Lu saw that the three of them had confessed and was about to announce the punishment decision, Teacher Pang walked in from outside. "What's going on?" Teacher Lu told them what had happened, then lowered his voice and said, "Teacher Pang, do you think my punishment is still appropriate?" Teacher Pang glanced at Yun Chujio and the other two, then he said, "The punishment is too light. The points will naturally be deducted, but there will also be corporal punishment. Mo Fengchao, Shui Wuji and Jin Ji, the three of you have repeatedly made mistakes, so you will be punished to clean the classroom for a month. Do you have any objections?" Chapter 2247. Self-defense. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. She thought that this old man Pang was a good person, but she didn't expect him to be a cheater. However, she knew that this teacher Pang was not someone to be trifled with. She said obediently, "If you have done something wrong, you must be punished. We have no objections." Seeing that she had admitted her mistake very well, Teacher Pang's expression softened a little. "In that case, the three of you will be responsible for cleaning the second grade's day class every day. Go back." After Yun Chujio and the others left, Teacher Lu asked in confusion, "Teacher Pang, why did you ask them to clean the second grade's day class? Why didn't you just ask them to clean the first grade star class?" Teacher Pang smiled. "These three children, especially Mo Fengchao and Shui Wuji, are too aggressive. They have to be polished. The second grade's day class is full of geniuses. It's not a bad thing to make them suffer a little." Teacher Lu nodded, but he felt uneasy. Mo Fengchao was a troublemaker. Would she cause any more trouble if she cleaned the second grade's day class? At this moment, Yun Chujio was holding a large kitchen knife and pressing it against Di Shanshan's neck. She said faintly, "Di Shanshan, is it? Are you bored? Are you jealous of my beauty because you love to report me so much? Tell me, do you want me to cut your face a few times or do you want me to cut your neck a few times?" Di Shanshan said in horror, You beat up your classmate for no reason. Aren't you afraid of being expelled?" "Expelled? What a joke. I beat you up? This is clearly a fight, okay? If we were to fight, I would at most be considered self-defense." You're talking nonsense. I obviously didn't do it." Di Shanshan was both angry and afraid. "You didn't do it, but you provoked me. You glared at me. Since you have already provoked me, if I still don't do it, wouldn't I be too weak to be bullied?" Everyone was dumbfounded. What did she mean by "if you want to add insult to injury, there's no excuse for it"? This was it. This Mo Fengchao was clearly taking revenge on Di Shanshan for reporting her, and she even said something about fighting. Who was she kidding? "Luoxia, save me." Di Shanshan saw that Yun Chujio was unreasonable, so she quickly asked Shi Luoxia for help. Mo Fengchao, quickly release Shanshan, or I'll report it to the law enforcement office, Shi Luoxia said angrily. "Get lost. I haven't settled the score with you yet. If you want to be disfigured like her, you can continue to prance around," Yun Chujio said coldly. Shi Luoxia's face flushed red. She was furious, but she did not dare to say anything. She could tell that this Mo Fengchao was a daring person. If she continued to speak, she might really be in trouble. "Zhai Shanshan, did you see that? Your good sister is also a little bitch who only cares about herself. Now only you can save yourself. I'll give you two choices. One is to let me scratch your face a few times, and the other is to take out 200,000 high-grade spirit stones to compensate for my mental loss. Which do you choose? Of course, you can also choose to have someone report me to the law enforcement office. I'm more than happy to do so," Yun Chujio said with a smile. Zhai Shanshan looked at Shi Luoxia and the other students for help. Those people avoided her gaze. What a joke. This Mo Fengchao was like a female bandit. Who would dare to confront her head-on? Zhai Shanshan's heart turned cold. She gritted her teeth. "I'll give you the money. Let me go." Chapter 2248. Report to the police. After Yun Chujio received the spirit stones, she put away the big kitchen knife. She smiled and said, That's right. There is nothing that 200,000 spirit stones cannot solve. If 200,000 is not enough, then 2 million. If 2 million is not enough, then 20 million. If you have the money, you are welcome to continue reporting me. Zhai Shanshan was so angry that she gritted her teeth, but she did not dare to say anything. She was afraid that Yun Chujie would use the same trick again and threaten her with a big kitchen knife. He was very puzzled. Her spiritual power was clearly at the 5th level of the Lingxian realm. How could she be so easily restrained by this Mo Fengchao? She must have been careless and let her succeed. Yun Chujie glanced at the people who went to report her. She said faintly, "All of you listen well. This time Zhai Shanshan took the blame for you, so I spared you. If you provoke me again, Zhai Shanshan will be a lesson to all of you." Those people looked angry, but no one dared to say anything. Yun Chujie saw that there was a spirit fruit tree next to her. She raised her hand and picked a few spirit fruits. "See? I picked spirit fruits again. Go and report it. Go wait for you here. I'll see who is so brave to report it." Those people looked at each other. Damn it, this Mo Fengchao was too arrogant. However, no one dared to move. What a joke. The report would result in a painless loss of points and cleaning the classroom. After coming out, this Mo Fengchao would extort 200,000 spirit stones from them. Only a fool would report it. Well, I remember that I still have something to do. I'm leaving. My stomach suddenly hurts. I'm leaving too. My stomach hurts too. I'm leaving too. In the end, only 11 Luoxiao and Zhai Shanshan were left. Shi Luoxiao walked up to Zhai Shanshan and pulled her away. "Shanshan, let's go too." Zhai Shanshan glared at her, waved her hand and left angrily. Yun Chujie fanned herself with the large kitchen knife and said, "A dog biting a dog's fur. How fun." Shi Luoxiao gritted her teeth and chased after Zhai Shanshan. When the surrounding students saw Yun Chujie walking towards them with the large kitchen knife, they immediately dispersed. Yun Chujie turned to look at Jin Ji and said doubtfully, "I just wanted to ask about the class schedule for the 2nd grade's day class. It's convenient for us to clean the classroom. Why are they running?" Jin Ji touched her nose and thought to herself, "Is there anyone with a big kitchen knife who wants to ask about something? It would be strange if they didn't run." The 3 of them went straight to the classroom of the 2nd grade's day class. Coincidentally, there was a handyman cleaning the classroom. Yun Chujie went forward to ask about the class schedule. The learning tasks of the 2nd grade were obviously more important than those of the 1st grade. Therefore, apart from the morning, there was also a class schedule in the afternoon. However, it would basically be finished before Insure. The handyman had already received the notice from the handyman's office, so he handed the jade token to Yun Chujie. After saying some things to take note of, he prepared to leave. Yun Chujie stopped him with a smile. "Wait, let's talk about a deal, okay?" The handyman was stunned. "Deal? What deal?" "If you can arrange the time, we'll hire you to continue cleaning this classroom. We'll give you 1,000 high-grade spirit stones a day. How about that?" "Really? There's no problem with the time. Even if I don't have time in the afternoon, I can still come over to clean this classroom in the evening. After all, this classroom will only be used the next morning." The handyman was both surprised and delighted. His monthly salary was only 50,000 high-grade spirit stones. It was great that he had an additional income. Chapter 2249. A certain Geo who was absent-minded. Of course it's true. Here, this 5,000 upper-grade spirit stones is the deposit. Yun Chujie straightforwardly transferred the 5,000 upper-grade spirit stones to the handyman. The handyman smiled so widely that he couldn't close his mouth. He repeatedly promised that he would clean it well. After leaving the classroom of the 2nd grade's day class, Jin Ji said somewhat uneasily, "Little Geo, will this work? If it's discovered, the law enforcement department will definitely not let it go. In the future we can just pretend. I want to see who still dares to report us. It's just the right time to spend some money. Let's go, it's almost time for dinner. I'll treat you to some delicious food." Yun Chujie's eyes flashed. It was endless fun to fight with others. Shui Wuji and Jin Ji naturally did not want to clean up the bullshit hygiene. They had the time to cultivate, alright. Therefore they threw their worries to the back of their minds. Moreover, even if they were discovered, they could just clean up the classroom for a period of time. It didn't matter. The 3 of them swaggered into the dining hall. It was dinner time, so the dining hall was bustling with people. When they saw Yun Chujie and the other 2 enter, Many people's eyes focused on the three of them. They couldn't help but have another discussion. Do you see that? It's those three people, especially that Mo Fangchao in the middle. She's simply a female bandit. Yesterday she beat up Long-Face Zhang and today she beat up a freshman. I heard that she even bled. That's not all. In the afternoon she even stole the spirit fruit from the academy and reported that the female student was extorted 200,000 spirit stones from her. Are you serious? That black fragrant grass is only at the first layer of the Lingxian realm. Does she have the guts to do that? Does her family have a strong background? I heard that she is just a distant descendant of a third-grade family. She is relying on her 900 points and her fearless attitude. I think that she will hit the wall sooner or later. Yun Chujio turned a deaf ear to everyone's discussion. She ordered a large table full of dishes and enjoyed the meal. She had already figured it out. Although the students in Xingtian Academy weren't as high-born as those in the WA Stone Academy, they were all young ladies' bodies and maidservants' lives. They were all people who trampled on and flattered others. If they weren't a little more powerful, they would definitely be bullied to death. Moreover, in this academy no one dared to openly take her life. As for those who played dirty, was it still the same sentence? They wanted to play dirty with someone who had full Black Lotus skills? They were courting death. Yun Chujio ate with satisfaction. As usual, she packed a lot of food before strolling out of the dining hall with Jin Ji and the others. After returning to the courtyard, this fellow was a little excited because Di Baiming had said that he would come to visit her tonight. Yun Chujio sat cross-legged on the bed to cultivate, but she had no way to calm down. She took out her speech book and flipped through it, but she also felt that it was meaningless. This fellow never dreamed that one day she would be so distracted by a man that she couldn't even continue reading her favorite speech book. This fellow patted his own face. It's over, he's been poisoned by the pretty boy. When he saw him at night he would definitely torture him. This fellow waited with his fingers and finally, Di Baiming arrived in the middle of the night. Di Baiming wanted to enter as soon as possible, but the security of the Xingtian Academy was much tighter than that of the Mo family. Even if his spiritual power was high, he didn't dare to be careless. When Yun Chujio saw Di Baiming, she pounced on him without saying a word. Di Baiming was really shocked by Yun Chujio's fierceness, but he quickly turned the tables and pinned a certain pervert on the bed for a good beating. Chapter 2250. Why don't we cook cooked rice? A certain perverted nine quickly changed from taking the initiative to being passive. Her mouth was red from being kissed and water seemed to be dripping out of her eyes. It provoked Di Baiming so much that he wanted to tear the person in front of him into pieces and eat him. A certain grass in a certain perverted nine's dantian curled up all the leaves together. It knew that the intermittent storm was coming again. It could already feel a certain someone's deep resentment. Heavens, earth, heaven and earth, it didn't want to do that, alright? This was fate. It was all a trick of fate, it was all fate's arrangement. A certain perverted nine was kissed until it was in a daze. As expected, it cursed a certain grass dozens of times before it said, "Prince Charming, didn't I say that I won't let you come? Why are you still here?" Di Baiming silently chanted the clear heart mantra a few times before he suppressed the desire in his heart. He said in a hoarse voice, "I don't trust you. I have to see you safe and sound with my own eyes." A certain pervert's heart was soft. Although a gigolo was arrogant, he was a warm man to this fairy. Indeed, all men needed to be taught. This guy was secretly proud for a while before he finally realized and asked, "Male god, what happened to your voice? When you sent me the voice transmission talisman earlier it was a little hoarse." "Nothing, I was just worried about you. It's much better now," Di Baiming said casually and reached out to touch Yun Chujio's hair. Yun Chujio's thick-skinned face turned red. "Is this gigolo playing with me?" Di Baiming saw that Yun Chujio's face was slightly red, which made her look even cuter. The desire that he suppressed with great difficulty resurfaced again. He could only look away and said dryly, "Tell me what happened." "What exactly happened?" Yun Chujio told him everything. Then she said proudly, "Prince Charming, although I always encounter strange things with my freakish physique, I will be fine. Don't worry about me next time. If you get sick in a hurry my heart will ache." Di Baiming's heart was provoked by this sentence of heartache. It was rare for a certain someone to swear, so he cursed Guai Chao in his heart a few hundred times. A certain someone couldn't hold it in anymore. He hugged a certain pervert and made love to her again until the two of them were almost out of breath. Only then did he end this suffocating kiss. When a certain pervert saw that the veins on Dee Biming's forehead were popping up, she really couldn't bear it. With a red face she said, How about we just cook it? It shouldn't be a problem, right? Although Dee Biming wanted to tear her apart and eat her right away, he still said against his heart, It's fine. Just bear with it for a while and it'll pass. Your health is more important. There's still time in the future. There's no rush. She thought it made sense. If a monk didn't have sex in his entire life, wouldn't he be living well? If he could bear with it, then so be it. It would be bad if it affected the birth of a monkey. A certain Geo didn't know that his momentary disobedience had created a difficult life in the future. A few years later, when a certain Geo was unsatisfied and wanted to have sex, a certain Geo who was playing with her son, boasted shamelessly, Just endure it for a while and get lost. Of course this was something for later. Since they couldn't have sex, the two of them started talking about serious matters. Little Geo, you've offended a lot of people in just 2 days of school. You must be extremely careful in the future. How about I help you kill that Diao Xiaoyan? A certain Geo's solution to the problem was simple and crude. If you wanted to touch his woman, just kill her. Chapter 2251. A certain someone who was looking for praise. Yun Chujio shook her head. These little dregs aren't worth mentioning. I'm actually a little worried about the Yi family. A few days ago I met that Yi Bingyu on the street. I thought she would get into a big fight, but I didn't expect her to be captivated by Brother Wuji's beauty. Dee Biming raised his eyebrows. Captivated by that idiot Shui Wuji? Is she blind? Yun Chujio. Prince Charming, Brother Wuji is still very good looking. Yun Chujio felt that the surroundings were a little cold, so she quickly said, But he is still far from you. Dee Biming's expression became a little better, and then he asked, And then? Brother Wuji naturally wouldn't take a fancy to Yi Bingyu. After a few words with her we left. I feel that Yi Bingyu will definitely not let this matter rest. Fortunately, fighting is prohibited in Tianluo City. As long as I don't leave Tianluo City, she won't be able to do anything to me. Dee Biming frowned. It seemed that the previous warning was too lenient. When he returned, it seemed that he still had to make a trip to the Yi family. Yun Chujio saw that Dee Biming was deep in thought, so she asked curiously, Prince Charming, what are you thinking about? Nothing, I just thought of something. Dee Biming was actually feeling a little conflicted. On one hand, he wanted to tell her about what happened last time so that Yun Chujio could praise him. On the other hand, he felt a little embarrassed to say it out loud. Fortunately, Yun Chujio was smart. When she saw Dee Biming's appearance, she knew that something was wrong. She hugged Dee Biming's arm. She asked coquettishly, Prince Charming, are you hiding something from me? Tell me quickly, what is it? Dee Biming awkwardly told her about the Yi family and then said, It seems that they only broke the door. They don't have a good memory. I will warn them again when I go back. Yun Chujio's face stiffened. Pretty boy, although your heart is good, don't you think that your warning is weird? Besides, you only wrote the word kilp in Yi Bingji's courtyard. Yi Bingyu might not have thought that it was because of the incident in the psychedelic forest. However, if she met that little bitch Yi Bingyu again in the future, she could use this incident to teach her a lesson. After Dee Biming finished speaking, he was still pretending to be calm as he waited for Yun Chujio to praise him. In the end, there was no movement for a long time. He lowered his head and saw Yun Chujio rolling her eyes. No one knew what she was thinking. Dee Biming's heart felt a little stifled. He coughed dryly. What? Did I do something wrong? Yun Chujio was so smart. When she heard Dee Biming not say I, but I, she knew that this Tsundra was angry. Idol, I am so touched. I am so touched that I am dumbfounded. You are too good to me. Yun Chujio hugged Dee Biming and buried her head in his arms as she said coquettishly. Dee Biming suddenly felt his heart light up and he was a little embarrassed. It's nothing, I was just passing by. Yun Chujio secretly pursed her lips. What a Tsundra. She obviously wanted her to praise him, but she still looked sullen. Prince Charming, you don't have to go to the Yi family to threaten them anymore. If that Yi Bingyu dares to provoke me again, I'll teach her a lesson. If she doesn't know what's good for her, you can help me deal with her again. Yun Chujio still didn't know the details of her mother's expulsion, therefore she didn't plan to touch the Yi family for the time being. Alright then, I'll let them off for the time being. You should be quite stable in Xingtian Academy recently, so I plan to bring in Feng away to temper him. After his spiritual power improves, you'll let him come back to protect you. His spiritual power is too low now. He's simply a trash. Di Baiming said with a frown. Chapter 2252 was just a little red-eyed Yunchujio laughed dryly. Prince Charming, the little madman is now at the first layer of the spiritual void tier. Speaking of which, he is much stronger than me. If he is useless, wouldn't I be even more useless? Di Baiming touched his nose. He is different from you. When I broke the seal, a part of the golden light entered his body. Previously he only digested a part of it. He needs a lot of trials to break through again. Yunchujio could not help but say sourly, this little lunatic is really a fool. According to what you said, wouldn't Beauty Jinji cultivate very fast in the future? Di Baiming nodded and said, although Jinji did not absorb as much golden light as in Feng, she will still cultivate faster than the average person. It seems that only Wu Ji and I are the most useless. Yunchujio pouted and said with disappointment. Di Baiming coughed dryly. Actually, that idiot Shui Wuji also has a seal in his body. When I slapped him back then, his seal had already loosened. I believe that if there is a suitable opportunity, a part of the seal will be removed. Yunchujio was stunned at first, then she opened her mouth and howled. Fortunately, Di Baiming had activated the isolation array when he came in, otherwise he would have lured everyone here. After all this, I'm the most useless one. Why do all of you have a seal but I don't? Sabibi, not only do I not have a seal, I also have 3 nails in my dantian. No, I still have one in my palm. I'm so miserable. Di Baiming patted her back comfortingly. Although you don't have a seal, you still have me. Yunchujio was stunned. She raised her head and looked at Di Baiming. Di Baiming flipped over and pressed Yunchujio under his body. He said slowly, little Jiu, give me some more time. I promise that no one can hurt you in the future. You have to believe me. Yunchujio felt that her face was on fire. Her tongue was a little tongue-tied. Of course I believe you. I just have some red-eyed disease. Di Baiming. He initially thought that Yunchujio was really feeling sorry for herself, so he said what he wanted to say to comfort her. In the end, this fellow was just jealous and did not hate her. This time the atmosphere was a little awkward. A certain someone looked at Yunchujio's beautiful face and thought of a good way to ease the awkwardness, which was to start a marriage if there was a disagreement. Yunchujio was so dizzy from the kiss that she had long forgotten about the seal. After the intimacy, Yunchujio lay in Di Baiming's arms and talked to Di Baiming casually. Little Jiu, you still have class tomorrow. Go to sleep. When you fall asleep I will leave. Di Baiming kissed Yunchujio's forehead. Yunchujio was reluctant to let Di Baiming leave, but she knew that there was no other way. She pouted, I can't sleep unless you sing me a lullaby. Ever since the seal was broken, Di Baiming had not sung a lullaby. However, he could not stand Yunchujio's coquettishness. He could only grit his teeth and sing the lullaby. Only then did Yunchujio fall asleep in Di Baiming's arms. Although Di Baiming was reluctant to leave, he saw that the sky was starting to brighten. If he did not leave now, it would be difficult for him to escape. He could only gently place Yunchujio on the pillow and kiss her forehead. He gritted his teeth and got up to leave. After he left, Yunchujio opened her eyes and bit her lips. 2 drops of tears rolled down. Chapter 2253. Take off your veil. On one hand, Yunchujio was reluctant to let Di Baiming leave. On the other hand, she felt sorry for Di Baiming as he fought alone. Not only was she unable to help him, but she was also a burden to him. How useless. This fellow cried for a while and wiped his tears. He had to become stronger as soon as possible. He had to become stronger as soon as possible. He only fell asleep in a daze when the sky was about to brighten. Just as she was sleeping soundly, the sound of Jinji knocking on the door could be heard from outside the courtyard. Little Jiu, let's go. If we don't leave now, we'll be late for class. Yunchujio had no choice but to get up, wash up randomly and come out with a meat bun in her mouth. When Jinji saw that Yunchujio's eyes were red and swollen, she could not help but ask worriedly, Little Jiu, what happened to your eyes? What happened? Your lips. Yunchujio turned around after realizing what had happened. She took out a mirror and looked into it. Her eyes were red and her lips were slightly red and swollen. Her face was immediately on fire. She was stunned for a moment. Then she took out a veil and covered her face. Although her eyes were red and swollen, it was still better than letting others see her swollen lips. Jinji rolled her eyes and guessed it. She couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Little Jiu, could it be that someone came last night? Yun Chujia's thick face became even redder. Humph. Don't laugh at me. The little madman will be away with the gigolo for a while. When that time comes you won't be able to see him. Jinji blushed and stamped her feet. I was kind enough to care about you, but you teased me and ignored you. The two of them were laughing and joking around. Shui Wuji came out of the yard yawning. What are you guys doing so early in the morning? Little sister Jiu, why are you wearing a veil? What's wrong with your eyes? Which reckless person provoked you? Yun Chujio laughed dryly. Brother Wuji, you're thinking too much. I just read a storybook last night and couldn't help crying when I saw the sad part. Then why are you wearing a veil? Shui Wuji frowned and asked suspiciously. Brother Wuji, why do you have so many reasons? What time is it now? Let's hurry to the classroom. Yun Chujio quickly changed the topic. In her heart, she blamed a certain someone who did not know how to take care of a beautiful woman. How annoying. Shui Wuji rubbed his nose. Seeing that Yun Chujio was not willing to say anything, he had no choice but to give up. The three of them quickly arrived at the first grade star class classroom. Perhaps it was because Yun Chujio had taught Jai Shanshan a lesson yesterday, the star class students were much more obedient. Although many people were very curious when they saw Yun Chujio's red and swollen eyes and the veil that she was wearing, no one dared to discuss it. After Yun Chujio sat down, she took out a swelling-reducing pill and secretly rubbed it on her lips. It was estimated that the swelling would disappear in a short while. After Teacher Dong entered, his gaze fell on Yun Chujio and he frowned. With an unfriendly expression he said, Mo Fengchao, how is it proper for you to wear a veil in class? Hurry up and take it off. Otherwise you won't be attending this class. Yun Chujio's heart was originally seething with anger because of Di Baiming's departure. She immediately stood up and said coldly, Teacher Dong, which rule in the academy's rules doesn't allow students to wear a veil in class? Teacher Dong was even more displeased when he saw that Yun Chujio actually dared to contradict him. He slammed the table. Regardless of whether the academy's rules have rules or not, I have the final say in this spiritual energy class. Are you going to take off your veil or go out? You trash, you still dare to contradict the teacher? How outrageous. Chapter 2254. The abused constitution of the heavenly Dao Cliff. Yun Chujio kicked the table over. If you don't want to go, then don't go. What's so great about it? After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she walked out of the classroom with ease. Teacher Dong was so angry that he almost fainted. He pointed at Yun Chujio's back and didn't know what to scold. Shui Wuji and Jinji originally wanted to follow her out, but when they received Yun Chujio's glance at them, the two of them didn't move. Jinji secretly opened the recording stone and recorded the content of the class. When they went back, they could play it for little Jiu to listen to. In this way, it did not matter if they did not attend the class. When Teacher Dong recovered from his shock, he naturally belittled Yun Chujio. She had no manners, did not respect her teacher, did not have a future, and was a good-for-nothing. Shui Wuji clenched his fists so tightly that they made cracking sounds. If it was not for Jinji giving him a look, this fellow would probably have kicked the table and left. After Teacher Dong scolded him for a long time, the class finally began. After Yun Chujio left the classroom, she was very annoyed and directly went to the heavenly Dao Cliff. Since everyone could only accept the inheritance once, the heavenly Dao Cliff was usually very deserted and almost no one would come. Yun Chujio sat on the ground and was unhappy. He picked up the pebbles on the ground and threw them onto the heavenly Dao Cliff. The heavenly Dao Cliff was about to cry. What was this little pervert doing here? Besides, if you came, so be it. Why did you hit it with pebbles? Ahem, little girl, what's wrong with you? The heavenly Dao Cliff felt a little awkward, so he asked. None of your business. You son of a bitch. Yun Chujio said in a bad mood. The heavenly Dao Cliff was so angry that he almost passed out. She was clearly being kind, okay? You will lose your friends if you do this. Yun Chujio obviously felt that she was venting her anger. She said in a muffled voice, I feel that I am very useless. I am a waste. Every time I break through, there must be heavenly lightning descending. It has been a long time since I broke through. Tiandaoya asked timidly. Then when was the last time you broke through? It has been almost 4 months. Why didn't the damn heavenly lightning strike me? Could it be that the heavenly lightning in the eastern continent is stupid? Fuck. It is simply a vegetable lightning. Yunchujio said angrily. The heavenly Dao cliff decided to wait for a while. They hadn't broken through for 4 months and now they were anxious? Many people only broke through after several years, okay? This little pervert was really eager to succeed. Yunchujio muttered for a while. Seeing that the heavenly Dao cliff didn't pay attention to her, she threw a handful of stones at it angrily. Tell me, why didn't the heavenly lightning strike me? The heavenly Dao cliff felt that this little pervert in front of him was probably the only one in the world who would ask such a question. Wasn't he crazy? He actually wanted the heavenly lightning to strike her. However, this guy was a pervert and could not be reasoned with. I guess it's not the time yet. Isn't there a good saying, it's not the time yet? After saying that, the heavenly Dao cliff regretted it. It was over. He had said it without saying anything. Sure enough, Yunchujio angrily took out a raw egg and threw it at the heavenly Dao cliff. You're the one who's going to suffer retribution. You bastard cliff. Tian Dao cliff felt that it might have a masochistic constitution. Logically speaking, this little pervert had bullied it so much, so it should have ignored her. However, it could not help but say slyly, "Little girl, everything is about luck. You can't force it." Yunchujio suddenly stood up from the ground and Tian Dao cliff was shocked. Yunchujio said firmly, "I never believe in some bullshit fate. My fate is in my hands, not the heavens. Even Tian Dao old bastard can forget about playing with my life." Chapter 2255. Shao Tian Tian, my fate is in my hands, not in the sky? Old bastard Tian Dao? Tian Dao cliff was stunned by Yunchujio's words. It originally thought that this little girl was just a little crafty, relying on some small tricks and schemes to trick it. It did not expect this little girl to be so domineering. However, Tian Dao cliff still felt that Yunchujio was young and impetuous. Tian Dao was the ruler of this world. What right did a little girl have to go against Tian Dao and control her own fate? Just as Tian Dao cliff was indulging in his wild thoughts, Wu Yun saw thick and heavy dark clouds gathering in the distance. He was shocked. It must be that the little girl's words just now had angered Tian Dao. He was going to send down heavenly lightning to kill her. She was really a demon. Yunchujio's eyes lit up. This was great. The good opportunity to break through had come. However, he had to do some preparations first. Yunchujio took out the voice transmission talisman and said to Jinji, "Beauty Jinji, I want to go to the deep valley of hell below the heavenly Dao cliff to have a breakthrough. Next time you can help me apply for a leave of absence during the beast taming class. Just say that I have diarrhea." After Yunchujio put away the voice transmission talisman, she took out a handkerchief to wrap her hair properly. Then she said to the heavenly Dao cliff with a smile, "Little Tiantian, come, bring me to the bottom of the valley below. I'm going to be struck by lightning." I'm finally going to be struck by lightning. This is great. Tian Dao cliff was no longer able to complain about little Tian. It felt that it was necessary to remind the crazy woman in front of it, "Little girl, the heavenly lightning is coming menacingly. Are you sure you want to go to the bottom of the valley? There might be someone on top who can help you carry a few heavenly lightning bolts. If you go down there, no one will be able to help you. Little Tian, I didn't expect you to have such a good heart. Don't worry, the heavenly lightning can't kill me. Hurry up and bring me down." Seeing that Yunchujio was determined, the heavenly Dao cliff had no choice but to teleport her to the bottom of the valley. A thought flashed through the heavenly Dao cliff's mind. Should I do something to kill this little brat? After thinking for a while, he gave up. Firstly, if he couldn't kill her, the little brat wouldn't forgive him. Secondly, he really wanted to see what would happen to this little brat who said, "My fate is in my hands, not the heavens," in the future. After Yunchujio was teleported to the bottom of the valley, she found an empty space and sat down cross-legged, waiting to be struck by lightning happily. Her side was quite beautiful, but the people of Xingtian Academy were a little uneasy because of the abnormal weather. Although it was usually cloudy and rainy, the dark clouds this time were too heavy, right? It didn't look like rain but more like heavenly thunder. Could it be that Tian Dao wanted to kill the Mo Fong grass with the heavenly thunder spirit root? As the dark clouds grew heavier and heavier, even the students in the classroom felt uncomfortable. Moreover, the sky had clearly darkened. Dean Gongsun of Xingtian Academy and a few vice deans gathered together. They looked at the dark clouds in the sky and discussed, "What's going on? This looks like heavenly thunder. Could it be that they are here to kill that Mo Fengchao? It doesn't seem like it. That Mo Fengchao should be in the classroom. However, those dark clouds are gathered near the cliff of Tiandao. Could it be that the thing from the deep valley of hell didn't die last time? Is that why it attracted heavenly lightning to kill it? What you said makes sense. It's probably because that thing revealed itself after Mo Fengchao and the others went down last time. That's why Tiandao asked heavenly lightning to kill it." Yun Chujio did not know that everyone had already made up an excuse for her. This fellow was sitting there with Xiao Hanyo and Xiao Mogu to share the spoils. Chapter 2256. I've decided to eat dirt. This heavenly thunder isn't easy to come by. You guys just need to absorb some later. Leave more for your master. It's not easy to get criticized once. Yun Chujio looked at the two next to her and said with disdain, "Master, this isn't right. You're such a big landlord and you still need this little bit of thunder?" Xiao Hanyo said with dissatisfaction while staring at the green bean-like eyes. Although Xiao Mogu did not make a sound, it had already stretched out its mycelium. Obviously it was prepared to absorb a little more later. All right. Later, remember to scold the heavenly thunder for me. Try to let it strike a little longer. Master, don't worry. I'm the best at scolding thunder. You just wait and see. The heavenly Dao cliff really heard it. It felt that Yun Chujio, that ugly bird, and that Xiao Mogu had all gone crazy. That was heavenly lightning, alright? It wasn't food, alright? And they even snatched it. Were they all fighting to die? What was wrong with them? At this moment Wu Yun was already very thick and heavy. Almost all of them were gathered at the top of the deep valley of hell. Rumble. A purple lightning tore through the sky and struck down towards Yun Chujio. Xiao Hanyo flapped its two short wings and flew with all its might. It was completely satisfied. Burp. I feel so good after being struck by the bird. And again. Xiao Hanyo landed on the ground unsteadily. One of its wings pointed at the sky while the other supported its stomach as it shouted. The heavenly Dao cliff was simply dumbfounded. But this ugly bird was actually not struck to death? Moreover, it looked like it was enjoying itself very much. What kind of monster was this? Wu Yun, who was in the sky, was also a little confused. Wasn't it sent to strike that little girl with the heavenly lightning spirit root? What was with that ugly bird that was black? Why was there still someone who wanted to be struck by lightning? However, Wu Yun did not think that it mattered. At most he would just strike a few more times. In any case, the end result would be the same. Regardless of whether it was that little girl or that ugly bird, they would all be struck into ashes. Thinking of this, Wu Yun fired another bolt of lightning at the Xiao Hanyo on the ground. Unexpectedly, Xiao Mogu used a few mycelium to secretly poke and cut off Xiao Mogu's beard. After Xiao Mogu was struck by the lightning, his body flickered with a seven-colored radiance, looking very beautiful. The Xiao Hanyo was immediately displeased. Xiao Mogu, no one would do this to you. Do you know that I am the boss? If you dare to stop me again, I'll decide to eat dirt from now on. I'll swallow all the dirt in the spiritual beast pouch for you. The corner of Yun Chujio's eyes twitched. Eat dirt? So that's how you eat dirt. Xiao Mogu felt guilty and buried herself in the dirt, afraid that Xiao Hanyo would continue to lose his temper. Alright. It's not like there's only one bolt of lightning. If you have the ability, why don't you let Wang Ba Yun in the sky strike a few more times? Have a bit of the boss grace. Yun Chujio held back her laughter and said. Only then did the little black bird let Xiao Mogu go. Wu Yun pointed his short wings at the dark clouds in the sky and said arrogantly, "Bastard, are you a chicken? Can you only lay one egg at a time? No, you're not even as good as a chicken. When a chicken is in a good mood, it can even lay 2 yellow eggs. You only know how to strike one bolt after another. You're simply trash." The dark clouds in the sky had never been insulted like this. When ordinary people encountered lightning, they would have already knelt down and begged for mercy. However, this ugly bird actually ridiculed Wu Yun for being inferior to a chicken. Even if Wu Yun could endure it, he could not endure it. Boom, boom, boom. Dozens of heavenly lightning struck down in succession. Heaven Dao Cliff could not bear to watch. That ugly bird was really courting death. This time it was going to be hacked into ashes. Chapter 2257 did not leave a single person alive. Just as Heavenly Dao Cliff was cursing in his heart, he heard an arrogant voice say, "Tis, if you have the ability, why don't you strike again? This little bit of heavenly lightning isn't enough for me to stuff the gaps between my teeth." Heavenly Dao Cliff was shocked. Not only was the ugly bird not struck to death, it seemed to have become even more lively. Heavens, what exactly was this ugly bird? Wu Yun in the sky was also caught unprepared. This ugly bird actually didn't die? When it heard Xiao Hanio's provocation, it naturally flew into a rage. One after another, heavenly lightning struck down again. Xiao Hanio rolled his possessed eyes. "Xiao Mogu, this time you can cut it off. In the future, don't say that I won't protect you, boss." Xiao Mogu thought, "Pooey. Well said, I'm afraid you've eaten your fill." Although Xiao Mogu was cursing in its heart, when the lightning descended, its mycelium still managed to stop the lightning. The Heavenly Dao Cliff was already dumbfounded. But not only was that ugly bird a pervert, but this Xiao Mogu was also a pervert? Could it be that the smelly girl was planning to let these two spiritual pets help her share the lightning? That must be the case. However, from the looks of it, the ugly bird seemed to have reached its limit. The heavenly lightning had just begun, so she must have made a wrong calculation. Wu Yun struck out dozens of heavenly lightning bolts in one go. Most of them were intercepted by Xiao Mogu, and only a small portion of Xiao Hanio was devoured. Wu Yun was furious when he saw that Xiao Mogu and Xiao Hanio were safe and sound. He thought about it and decided to forget about it. After all, his target this time was the little girl with the heavenly lightning's spiritual root. He would just have to kill her and ignore these two perverts. Wu Yun thought about it and adjusted his direction. Dozens of heavenly lightning bolts struck Yun Chujio. The Heavenly Dao Cliff took a deep breath. It was over. It was over. Dozens of heavenly lightning bolts struck at once. The little girl was going to die. However, after this wave of heavenly lightning, it took a look and saw that the little girl was fine. She was doing the thought work for the two little perverts. Xiao Mogu, you guys have almost absorbed enough. Don't intercept Master's heavenly lightning. Master, this heavenly lightning hasn't been opened for 3 years. It has been open for 3 years. We have to be full, right? Xiao Hanio burped as he said. He felt that he could still swallow more than 10 heavenly lightning bolts. Xiao Mogu rubbed the mycelium on Yun Chujia's body with a coquettish look. Obviously, it had not absorbed enough thunder. Yun Chujio spread her hands. All right. I'll let you guys do it first. There are not many kind-hearted masters like me. The Heavenly Dao Cliff had an illusion that the three perverts were talking about something delicious and not the thunder that could kill people. The dark clouds in the sky were twitching. Wu Yun didn't care about the gradual process anymore. Right now he only had one thought, and that was to kill the three perverts on the ground, not leaving a single one alive. Boom. Boom. The earth-shaking thunder changed the entire Tianluo city. Even the area within a radius of several hundred li was covered by the loud thunder. Bai Li's voice was extremely loud. Almost everyone's hearts were filled with fear and unease. What exactly was the reason for attracting such a huge amount of heavenly lightning? Could it be that some demonic beast or evil cultivator that the Heavenly Dao couldn't tolerate had appeared? Dean Gongsun and the others from the Heaven Punisher Academy were even more worried. This heavenly lightning was clearly aimed at the depths of hell. Just what could have attracted so much heavenly lightning? If it could kill them, that would be for the best. But if it couldn't kill them, if that thing came out, it would probably be a disaster for everyone. An hour passed, 4 hours passed. Chapter 2258 had been missing for 8 lifetimes after 6 hours. Other than a few more deep pits, there was nothing unusual. Yun Chujio was still happily devouring the lightning. Xiao Hanio and Xiao Mogu had already eaten their fill, so Yun Chujio put them into the spirit beast bag. Heavenly Dao Cliff was dumbfounded. Oh God! What kind of monster was this? The heavenly lightning had struck for 6 hours and she was still alive? It turned out that this little girl was not bluffing when she said that the heavenly lightning could not kill her. She was indeed a pervert. Wu Yun in the sky was about to go crazy from anger. After striking for 6 hours, he still could not kill the little girl below. If this news were to spread, he would not be able to survive in the dark cloud world anymore. He had to work harder. He had to kill her today. In the blink of an eye, another 2 hours had passed. Yun Chujia's expression became serious. She felt that she was about to reach her limit. The heavenly lightning in the eastern continent was obviously more powerful than the heavenly lightning in the western continent. Even though the 3 malefic stars in her body were constantly devouring the power of the lightning, the endurance of her meridians was limited. At this moment she was already feeling a little uncomfortable. Yun Chujia raised her head to take a look. The dark clouds in the sky seemed to still have quite a bit of the power of the lightning. What should she do? Could it be that she was really going to be struck to death by the heavenly lightning? The dark clouds in the sky seemed to have also noticed Yun Chujia's strange behavior. Their hearts were filled with joy, and the heavenly lightning struck down even more fiercely. Xiao Hanyo and Xiao Mogu were clamoring in the spirit beast pouch to come out and help Yun Chujio share the burden. Yun Chujio knew that they had already absorbed to their limits, and the result of them coming out was that they would most likely explode and die, so she did not agree. Yun Chujio could not help but smile bitterly. It was really ironic. Previously they were still competing to devour the heavenly lightning, but now they could not wait for Wu Yun to get lost. The heavenly Dao Cliff also noticed that Yun Chujio could not take it anymore and could not help but sigh. This little girl was still too arrogant. If she was up there, perhaps the people from the Heaven Punisher Academy would be able to help her withstand a few heavenly lightning bolts. There was no one at the bottom of the valley who could help her. She was just waiting to be hacked into ashes. The heavenly Dao Cliff was still feeling conflicted. On one hand, it felt that it was quite satisfying. After all, Yun Chujio had extorted 2 of its inheritances and even called it Wang Baya. On the other hand, it felt that it was a pity for this little pervert to die just like that. After all, it was rare for someone to be able to withstand 6 hours of lightning. Just as the heavenly Dao Cliff was thinking about it, it saw Yun Chujio suddenly raise her head and smile at it. For some reason, the heavenly Dao Cliff had an ominous feeling in its heart. Little Tian, we can be considered old friends. You can't just stand by and watch me die, right? I'll hide in the cave ahead. If you're affected, help me withstand the lightning for a while. As Yun Chujio said that, she ran forward. In a short while she entered the cave where the netherworld flower of 9 Een was hiding. Tian Daoyu was stunned at first, then he was so angry that he started to curse. Stupid girl. Get out here. You are trying to frame me. You have lost your virtue for 8 lifetimes. How can I know such a disaster like you? Yun Chujia's smiling voice came from the cave. You're wrong. You should have accumulated your virtue for 8 lifetimes. This is your opportunity. Little Tian. Tian Dao was so angry that he almost fainted. This sinister and cunning little girl was really too mean. If she was at the bottom of the valley, he could still get her to the top of the cliff. But now that she was in the cave, he could not even get her up. The dark clouds in the sky did not care about the relationship between the 2 of them. They were already red-eyed from the lightning strikes. They shot several bolts of lightning at the cave where Yun Chujio was staying. Chapter 2259. The heavenly Dao Cliff that took the blame. The heavenly lightning was extremely powerful, causing the rocks on the cliff walls to fall down one after another. However, Yun Chujio was in the cave. Even though a portion of the lightning had entered the cave, its power had been greatly reduced. To Yun Chujio it was a piece of cake. This fellow now had the mood to relax. Naturally, his mouth was not honest. Little Tian, this is still the heavenly Dao Cliff after all. The dark clouds above did not even greet you before they struck you. This means that they don't take you seriously at all. Are you really going to endure it like this? Little Tian, I thought you were pretty awesome. I didn't expect you to be so mediocre. Being frightened to such an extent by a piece of Wang Ba Yun. I think you're not as powerful as me. At the very least, I can still withstand the heavenly lightning for 6 hours. Can't be that you can't withstand it for 2 hours, right? Little Tian, this soldier can be killed but not humiliated. This Wu Yun clearly doesn't take you seriously. In the future, don't call yourself the heavenly Dao Cliff. I think you should just call yourself the Dregs Cliff. You're too cowardly. Little Tian, do you know why Wu Yun is so arrogant? It is bullying you that you cannot move. It is looking down on you. Heavenly Dao Cliff was already filled with anger after being framed by Yun Chujio. Now that Yun Chujio urged it, it turned its anger onto Wu Yun. That's right. It was not it who took the initiative to hide and protect that wretched girl. It was she who ran in on her own. Wu Yun attacked it without any reason. It was really bullying the cliff. Coincidentally, at this moment several bolts of lightning struck down. The top of the Tiandao cliff suddenly emitted 10,000 golden lights, blocking all the heavenly lightning. Yun Chujio secretly peeked out a small head. When she saw the situation in the sky, she couldn't help but secretly laugh. This Tiandao was really interesting. In the future she would bully it less. This fellow was happy. Wu Yun was almost out of breath. Although he was conscious, he didn't know how to speak. Otherwise he would definitely scold the Tiandao cliff. Is there something wrong with your brain? You are the Tiandao cliff. Why are you still helping that smelly girl to block the heavenly thunder? Wu Yun was extremely angry, but the people from the Heaven Punisher Academy were all dumbstruck. Heavens, what was going on? Why was the Heaven Dao cliff still fighting against the heavenly lightning? Could it be that the Heaven Dao cliff was the one that the Heaven Dao couldn't tolerate? This was impossible. Dean Gongsun pondered for a moment and guessed, "Do you guys think that the Heaven Dao cliff has gained sentience and is transcending the tribulation?" Dean, what you said makes sense. No wonder the heavenly lightning is so powerful. Turns out that the Heaven Dao cliff has gained sentience. That's right, I agree with principal. If the heavenly Dao cliff gained sentience, it would be a joyous occasion for our Xingtian Academy. If the heavenly Dao cliff knew that all the blame was placed on its head, it would probably be furious. It was clearly just a bystander, alright? Why did it become the main culprit after being struck by the heavenly thunder? Wu Yun hated the heavenly Dao cliff even more than Yun Chuju because it felt that the heavenly Dao cliff was a shameless traitor. It was fine if it did not help to take care of that stinky girl, but it actually helped that stinky girl to fight against it. It was really detestable. Therefore Wu Yun simply ignored Yun Chuju and hacked at the heavenly Dao cliff. The temper of the cliff of the Tian Dao also rose up. He thought to himself, are you that awesome just because you're floating in the sky? No matter what, I'm still a cliff of the Tian Dao. You really don't put me in your eyes. Today let's see who is more powerful. Chapter 2260. A slap to the face. The heavenly Dao cliff had accumulated for hundreds of thousands of years or even millions of years. It was even more powerful than an ordinary divine weapon. If they were to really compete, how could a few lightning bolts be its match? The last time Yun Chuju succeeded in extorting him, it was only because the heavenly Dao cliff was not involved in worldly affairs and was very simple. That was why she was tricked by Yun Chuju. Otherwise, even 10,000 Yun Chuju would not be a match for the heavenly Dao cliff. Therefore, even though the dark clouds in the sky struck down all the remaining lightning, they were blocked by the golden light of the heavenly Dao cliff. In a short while they dissipated. Wu Yun flew away trembling. It was obvious that it was very angry. It decided to go back and complain. It had to deal with the heavenly Dao cliff that was betraying it. When Yun Chuju saw that Wu Yun had flown away, she climbed out of the cave. Why did she have to climb? Because the entrance of the cave had been buried by more than half of the rocks that had been cut down. This guy had no choice but to climb out. Little Tian Tian. No wonder you are called the heavenly Dao cliff. You are indeed a hero. Let me tell you, I have seen a lot of divine artifacts in the artifact spirits of mystical realms. Only you are the most righteous, the most powerful, and the most domineering. Even a pervert like me is willing to admit defeat. Yun Chujio was afraid that the heavenly Dao cliff would settle the score later. She quickly covered it up. Although the heavenly Dao cliff was simple, it was not stupid. It naturally knew that Yun Chuju was giving it a sweet slap. It snorted coldly. Don't think that I can forgive you just because you praise me. Just stay at the bottom of the valley. Even if you climb halfway, I can still get you down. The heavenly Dao cliff felt that Yun Chujio would definitely cry and beg for mercy after hearing what it said. Who would have thought that this fellow would say with a smile, "Little Tian Tian, you are really understanding. I have just broken through, and it is also extremely good to stabilize my cultivation base at the bottom of this valley." The heavenly Dao cliff swept a glance at Yun Chujio and said with disdain, "Forget it. You speak so nicely. Aren't you still at the first level of the Lingxian realm? Where did you break through? Do you think I am blind?" Yun Chujio was also trying to show off. The spiritual power in her body began to surge. The second level of the Lingxian realm, the third level of the Lingxian realm. It stopped growing until the seventh level of the Lingxian realm. Tian Dao Ya's mind was blank. He had been struck by a few lightning bolts and he had advanced to the sixth level? God, how could he let others play with this? This was too abnormal. Little Tian, actually, I was joking with you. I was originally at the 4th level of the Lingxian realm. This time I only advanced to the 3rd level. Only 3 levels. Only. Are you sure you weren't just showing off? Advancing by 3 levels all of a sudden and you're still not satisfied? Do you know that you'll be struck by lightning if you do this? Alright, this demon was originally struck by lightning. After a long while, Heavenly Dao Cliff finally said, then why was your spiritual power level at the 1st level of the Lingxian realm? Even if there was a spiritual weapon that could conceal the spiritual power level, it shouldn't be able to hide it from me. Yun Chujio didn't hide it and said with a smile, I don't know what happened either. If I didn't wear this spirit-concealing ring, I wouldn't have any spiritual power fluctuations on me. If you don't believe me, take a look. As Yun Chujio said that, she took off the spirit-concealing ring. The Heavenly Dao Cliff was surprised to find that the little girl in front of him didn't have any spiritual power fluctuations at all. Heavenly Dao Cliff felt that he had opened his eyes. Then he realized that the ugly bird and the Xiao Moga's spiritual power level did not seem to be right. Forget it, the abnormal spiritual pet was also abnormal. Chapter 2261 was so interesting. Just as the Heavenly Dao Cliff was thinking about it, he saw that Yun Chujie's spiritual power level had once again changed to the 1st layer of the Lingxian realm. Although this fellow wanted to show off, he was afraid that he would attract trouble, so he decided to find another opportunity to raise the level of his spiritual power. This time he would not adjust it. The Heavenly Dao Cliff thought that Yun Chujie did this to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger and to trick people. It immediately reminded it of what had happened just now, and the anger in its heart suddenly rose. Stupid girl. Tell me, how do you account for the fact that you framed me just now? Yun Chujie rolled her eyes. This Heavenly Dao Cliff was intermittently crazy, right? They were just having a good chat just now, why did they suddenly turn hostile? Little Tian, how did I frame you? Alright, I admit that I did ask you to help me a little, but why didn't I ask for help from others? That's because other than you, Little Tian, who else in the immortal essence continent can resist the heavenly thunder? Who else? Tell me, who else? The Heavenly Dao Cliff was dumbfounded by Yun Chujie's questions. That's right, other than him, who else could be so awesome? Who else could fight against Wu Yun? Who else? Little Tian, I believe that you already have the answer, right? As the saying goes, the more capable a person is, the heavier the responsibility on their shoulders. No matter what, I'm still your friend, right? No matter what, I'm still a student of the Heaven Punisher Academy, right? As the guardian of the Heaven Punisher Academy, shouldn't you stand up and save me? The Heavenly Dao Cliff suddenly felt that its image had become more imposing. Looking down at the weak little girl at the bottom of the valley, it felt that it was too narrow-minded. It didn't really matter if it helped carry a few bolts of lightning, after all, it didn't have any losses, right? Seeing that the Heavenly Dao Cliff didn't say anything, Yun Chujio knew in her heart that the fish had already taken the bait. She said with a smile, Little Tian, besides, don't you think that fighting with Wu Yun is quite fun? Tell me, other than distributing the inheritances to the people of the Heaven Punisher Academy for so many years, what other fun do you have? Now that you think about what happened just now, don't you think it's very interesting? Wu Yun was frightened by your powerful ability and fled in panic. How interesting. Heaven's Path Cliff recalled what happened just now. That's right. That Wu Yun still thought that it was so great that his father wouldn't be able to torture it to death. In the end, when it fled, it looked like a stray dog. It was extremely enjoyable. Heaven's Path Cliff felt that the past hundreds of thousands of years seemed to be a patch of pale memories. Only being cheated by the smelly girl and fighting with Wu Yun were vivid colors. It seemed that these days had also become interesting. After Heaven Dao Cliff was taken away, his attitude immediately changed. Little girl, what you said still makes sense. That Wu Yun can't be compared to me. It's really too weak. I'm not bragging. Let alone splitting it for 10 hours, even if I let it split it for 10 days and 10 nights, it can't do anything to me. That's right, you're Heaven Dao Cliff. A single Wu Yun is not on the same level as you. You're just like the sun in the sky. Wu Yun is mostly just a small candle, and it's the kind of small wax head that's about to burn out. Yun Chujio said flatteringly with a smile. Tian Dao Cliff was in a good mood now. He found Yun Chujio pleasing to the eye. However, he said uneasily, Little girl, although this is quite pleasant, do you think Tian Dao will punish me? Little Tian, you are worrying too much. I have already scolded Tian Dao as an old bastard, But am I not still alive and kicking? Besides, when Tiandao punishes people, it is nothing more than a lightning strike. What are you afraid of? Yun Chujio said while pouting. Chapter 2262. We will be friends from now on. The heavenly Dao cliff felt that what Yun Chujio said made sense. At the very most, they would just be struck by lightning. What else could they do? Thus, it had a rough idea of what was going on. Just as it was about to bring Yun Chujio up, it realized that many people had come over, so it didn't move for the time being. The people who had come were naturally Dean Gongsun and the others. Seeing that the dark clouds had dispersed and the sky had returned to normal, they had come to the heavenly Dao cliff to investigate the situation. When they arrived at the heaven Dao cliff, everything was as usual. They looked into the depths of the valley, but they couldn't see anything. Everyone looked at each other, wanting to test if the heaven Dao cliff had gained sentience. But how should they ask this question? In the end, it was Dean Gongsun who bowed respectfully and said, I wonder if the Lord of the heaven Dao cliff can hear my question? Heaven's path cliff cursed inwardly. Damn it, I am not deaf, so of course I can hear you. However, I don't want to talk to these ants, so I am only willing to talk to the little lass. The crowd waited for a while, but when they saw that Heaven's Path Cliff had no reaction at all, one of the teachers said, Dean, perhaps Heaven's Path Cliff has just gained sentience and doesn't know how to speak yet. Upon hearing this, Tiandao Cliff became even angrier. You don't know how to speak. Your entire family doesn't know how to speak. However, Dean Gongsun felt that what the instructor said made sense. He reckoned that Tiandao would only know how to speak after a few years, and he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. After waiting for a while more, seeing that the sun had already set, they could only take advantage of their excitement and return in disappointment. After everyone had disappeared, Tiandao Cliff finally brought up a certain Jiu who was eating a meat bun at the bottom of the valley. Yun Chujio mumbled as she ate, Little Tiantian, when you have cultivated to a weapon spirit that can leave your body, I will bring you around to eat delicious food. Although the Heaven Dao Cliff was not greedy for these appetites, it was still quite happy when it heard Yun Chujio's words. It felt as if its life had come to life. I won't be able to cultivate for a while. It's fine as long as you have time to talk to me. I can't be bothered with those little ants. Your words are more interesting. Yun Chujio agreed with a smile. Although she initially wanted to use the mentality of the Tiandao Cliff to fool it, this fellow was the most loyal. The Tiandao Cliff had saved her life, so she naturally wouldn't be ungrateful. Little Tian, we will be friends from now on. If you need my help, just let me know. I will do my best to help you. Yun Chujio said seriously. I don't need your help for the time being. You should go back quickly. Otherwise you will be discovered. Although the heavenly Dao Cliff was simple-minded. However, they could feel that Yun Chujio meant what she said. They couldn't help but feel that the entire mountain was slightly red. Well, it was actually illuminated by the setting sun. Yun Chujio nodded. When Dean Gongsun and the others came, she had already used the cleaning spell and changed into a new set of clothes. She checked again and found that there was nothing wrong, so she left the heavenly Dao Cliff. It was dinner time now, so Yun Chujio did not meet many people when she came down from the heavenly Dao Cliff. However, after walking for a while she met a few people. Those people did not care too much, thinking that Yun Chujio came from another place. Yun Chujio sent a message to Jinji to find out that they were in the second grade's day classroom. Only then did this guy remember that they were punished to clean the classroom. Although they had paid a handyman, they should at least put on a show on the first day. Therefore, she strolled to the second grade day classroom. Chapter 2263. Teasing Jinji was naturally full of questions when she saw Yun Chujio. However, she was not too worried when she saw that Yun Chujio's expression was normal and she was not injured. She was prepared to ask more questions when she returned. The servant had almost cleaned up the classroom. He greeted Yun Chujio when he saw her coming in. Yun Chujio nodded politely and said something like, "Thank you for your hard work." This guy never bossed people around just because of their low status or low spiritual power. He was good to others, good to himself, good to others, and good to himself. After a while, the odd job workers cleaned the classroom thoroughly. After Yun Chujio let the odd job workers leave, the three of them waited for a while before leaving the second grade day classroom. "You were in a hurry to come here. Haven't you had dinner yet?" Seeing that Jin Ji and Xue Wuji nodded, Yun Chujio said with a smile, I'm not full either. Let's go to my yard and have some barbecue. Xue Wuji and Jin Ji both loved to be lively, so they naturally agreed happily. The three of them arrived at Yun Chujio's yard. After setting up a bonfire, Jin Ji couldn't wait to ask Yun Chujio about the incident. Yun Chujio did not hide anything and told them everything. Little Jiu, you are already at the 7th layer of the Lingxian realm? Oh my god. In comparison, I am simply a piece of trash. Jin Ji said dejectedly. Xue Wuji was also slightly disappointed. His spiritual power was indeed too low. Seeing this, Yun Chujio told the two of them what Di Baiming had said. She pouted and said, Your good days are coming. I am the stupid bird that flies first. Seeing Yun Chujio say this, Jin Ji quickly comforted Yun Chujio, afraid that she would be unhappy. In fact, the three of them were not jealous of each other's opportunities. They just wanted to become stronger and wanted to have the ability to protect each other. Fortunately, the three of them had gone through a life and death test, so they would not think about some things, so they would not hold any grudges. By the way, Beauty Jin Ji, you helped me apply for leave. The teacher of the beast taming class didn't say anything, right? Jin Ji slapped her thigh. I almost forgot about this matter. Teacher Du of the beast taming class asked you to go see him after you recovered from your illness. I guess he thought you were pretending to be sick. That Teacher Du doesn't look as snobbish as Teacher Dong, but he is a very serious person. You have to be mentally prepared. Yun Chujio nodded her head indifferently. At most she would be punished. Compared to leveling up and breaking through, this was simply not worth mentioning. Seeing that Yun Chujio did not seem to care, Jin Ji emphasized again. Yun Chujio smiled and said, Don't worry. I'll go and meet that Teacher Du after lunch tomorrow. Speaking of which, it's also fate. I said that my stomach hurts, so Teacher Du came. God is so cooperative with me, I'm embarrassed. Xue Wuji and Jin Ji. Little Jiu, after you left, that Teacher Dong scolded you a lot. He'll probably make things difficult for you in the spiritual power class tomorrow morning. I have recorded the content of the lecture. You can listen to it later. If he asks you a question, you won't be embarrassed. Jin Ji handed the recording stone to Yun Chujio. Beauty Jin Ji, you are so thoughtful. If I were a man, I would definitely marry you. Yun Chujio said slyly. Although Jin Ji was cheerful, she could not stand Yun Chujio's shameless teasing. She glared at her and said, Little Jiu, you'd better stop. If your majesty hears this, he might punish you. Chapter 2264 was going to be a good show, Yun Chujio said indifferently. The pretty boy has already been subdued by me. He doesn't even dare to say anything when I say so. How dare he deal with me? It's against him. The corner of Jin Ji's eyes twitched. Little Jiu, is what you said true? Of course it's true. It's more true than a pearl. The pretty boy is now a standard wife's slave. He doesn't dare to refute my words. Yun Chujio said proudly. Your Majesty. Your Majesty, why are you here? Jin Ji looked at the door of the courtyard in surprise. Yun Chujio was immediately dumbfounded. Beauty Jin Ji, what I said to you just now was just a joke. In fact, I'm the one who was taught a lesson. Our family's matters are all decided by our Prince Charming. After Yun Chujio said that, she saw Xue Wuji and Jin Ji laughing unsteadily. She turned around and saw that there was no gigolo. It turned out that Jin Ji was lying to her. This fellow's face turned red. What the fuck, he had failed miserably. It was all the gigolo's fault. He had been caught a few times in the past and it was a conditioned reflex. Fortunately, this fellow was thick-skinned enough to mediate the situation for himself. Go ahead and laugh. What's the big deal? Am I not afraid of gigolo? This is not fear, this is love. Do you understand? Jin Ji and Xue Wuji knew that this guy was actually shy, so they did not continue to ridicule her. After laughing for a while, they changed the topic. The three of them ate and chatted until it was time for Hai Shi to return to their respective residences. After Yun Chujio washed up, she lay on the bed and turned on the recording stone. After listening to Teacher Dong's spiritual power class, she fell asleep. The next day, when Yun Chujio and the other two entered the classroom, although no one dared to talk about it, many people's eyes were filled with schadenfreude. This Mo Fengchao was going to be unlucky. Teacher Dong was extremely angry yesterday. Today he definitely wouldn't let her off easily. Also, Teacher Du's expression yesterday was very serious. You probably wouldn't let this Mo Fangchao off easily. There was going to be a good show to watch. After a while it was time for class. Teacher Dong walked into the classroom with a gloomy face. Yun Chujio couldn't help but criticize him in her heart. This teacher Dong always had a resentful look on his face. It really affected the appearance of Xingtian Academy. Teacher Dong's gaze fell on Yun Chujio. Seeing that she wasn't wearing a veil today, he naturally couldn't kick her out again. However, his eyes flashed as he thought of a legitimate way to punish Yun Chujio. Yesterday I introduced the first step of cultivating the spirit energy phantom technique. Have you all memorized it? Everyone naturally agreed. Teacher Dong nodded in satisfaction. Since you've all memorized it, then I'll ask a question. If you can't answer it, then don't attend this class. Mo Fangchao, you answer this question. Everyone's gaze was focused on Yun Chujio. Many of them were gloating. This Mo Fangchao did not attend the class yesterday. It would be a miracle if she could answer it. Teacher Dong and everyone else had the same thought. This Mo Fangchao would definitely not be able to answer it. They could just kick her out to prevent her from getting angry. Yun Chujio stood up and looked uneasy. Teacher Dong, I didn't attend class yesterday. Can you change to another student to ask a question? Teacher Dong sneered. You didn't attend class yesterday because you did it yourself. Since you can't answer it, get out. You don't have to listen to this class anymore. Shui Wuji and Jin Ji lowered their heads. They thought to themselves, this little pervert is up to something again. He never forgets it. It would be a miracle if she can't answer it. Chapter 2265. Apology. After Teacher Dong finished speaking, he saw that Yun Chujio didn't move. He raised his voice and said, "Didn't you hear what I said? It's fine if your aptitude isn't good, but your attitude in class isn't correct. Someone like you is simply a disgrace to the Sky Punisher Academy. Get out, quickly get out." Yun Chujio suddenly raised her head and stared coldly at Teacher Dong. Teacher Dong was startled by Yun Chujio's cold gaze and subconsciously took a step back. Then he shouted angrily out of embarrassment, "Impudent! What kind of attitude is this? Are you dissatisfied with this teacher's punishment?" "Teacher Dong, I didn't violate your so-called classroom discipline. What right do you have to kick me out? Besides, I entered the academy openly and I didn't enter through the back door. What right do you have to say that I'm a disgrace to the Sky Punisher Academy? Do you think there's something wrong with the academy's admission process? Or do you think that the heavenly Tao cliff is blind, so they taught me 2 inheritances?" Yun Chujio stared into Teacher Dong's eyes and asked word by word. Teacher Dong's eyes flickered a few times. Unless the student violated the classroom discipline, only the teacher had the right to kick the student out of the classroom. He indeed didn't have the right to kick Yun Chujio out. However, the arrow was on the bowstring. So many eyes were watching. He could only bite the bullet and angrily say, "I don't care how you got in. If you can't answer my questions, then get out. You can sue me wherever you want." "What if I can answer? Do you want to apologize to me, Teacher Dong?" Yun Chujio said provocatively. Teacher Dong sneered. "Do you think I won't let you answer the question just because you said so? Fine. If you can answer this question, I will apologize to you. If you can't answer it, not only will you not attend today's spiritual power class, but you will also not attend any spiritual power class in the future." Everyone looked at Yun Chujio. They all had the same thought. This Mo Fangchao was probably trying to scare Teacher Dong. They didn't expect that it would backfire. This time they would see what she would do. She didn't even attend class yesterday. It would be a miracle if she could answer. He might as well go out obediently. This time she wouldn't be able to attend any spiritual energy classes in the future. Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips and said clearly, "The spiritual energy phantom technique is the foundation of a high-level physical transformation technique. Only after mastering a high-level physical transformation technique can one advance in the cultivation of the spiritual energy phantom technique. The first step of cultivating the spirit power phantom technique is to divide the spirit power. That is to say, while using the high-level physical transformation technique, you must also divide a part of the spirit power to transform the auxiliary beast." "Teacher Dong, is my answer correct?" When Yun Chujio said the first sentence, Teacher Dong's face changed. He knew that he had been tricked by this stupid girl. She clearly knew, but she deliberately pretended that she didn't know. It was to set him up and make him apologize. Damn it. Teacher Dong, as a teacher, you won't go back on your words, right? Yun Chujio asked with a smile. Teacher Dong's face flushed red. He wished that he could slap Yun Chujio to death with one palm. He gritted his teeth and said vaguely, "You answered correctly. I shouldn't have kicked you out just now. Sit down." Yun Chujio glanced at Teacher Dong with a faint smile. She did not continue to pester him. After she sat down, she looked at Teacher Dong calmly as if nothing had happened. Teacher Dong's expression was very ugly. He felt that all the students in the star class were laughing at him in their hearts. He forced himself to finish the class and left angrily. Chapter 2266, Grade 10 Alchemist. Yun Chujio had a whole new level of respect for this Teacher Dong. She was so angry that she almost wanted to slap him. He was actually able to finish his lecture. If he wasn't too snobbish, he could be considered a pretty good teacher. The second lesson was alchemy. Because of the experience from the Tao Talisman lesson, Yun Chujio had already mentally prepared herself. She reckoned that this alchemy lesson was also a pile of theoretical foundations. As expected, Instructor Jean, who was teaching the alchemy class, said the same thing as Instructor Lu, who was teaching the talisman class. It was basically saying that they would wait until the second grade to officially choose the alchemy class to teach the specific alchemy methods. The first grade only roughly explained some of the characteristics of the pills, their tastes, and so on. Although Yun Chujio was a little disappointed, she still listened to Instructor Jean's explanation very seriously. Sharpening a knife did not delay chopping wood. It was also good to learn some theoretical knowledge. Yun Chujio and the other two were now famous people in Xingtian Academy. Naturally, Teacher Jean had heard of them. Seeing that the three of them were listening to the lecture very seriously, he thought to himself, this rumor is indeed not believable. These three children seem to be pretty good. During the lecture, Teacher Jean also asked Yun Chujio a question. Seeing that Yun Chujio's answer was very exquisite, he asked in surprise, Emofanga, have you studied alchemy before? What level are you currently an alchemist? Yun Chujio recalled that she had once told the Great Elder that she had yet to learn how to refine a level 11 adversity pill. The Great Elder would probably tell Mo Fongbing. Therefore she said, I am a level 10 alchemist. Currently I am practicing the refinement of a level 11 pill. What? A level 10 alchemist? Teacher Jean suddenly raised his voice. She was already a level 10 alchemist at such a young age? This aptitude could be said to be quite good. The students of the star class were also somewhat surprised. They didn't expect that this Mo Fong grass actually had the specialty of alchemy. Although a grade 10 alchemist could at most be considered average, she was still young, so her alchemy aptitude could be considered quite good. Of course, there were also some people who felt that Yun Chujio was boasting. With just a trash from a low-grade continent like her, how could she be able to refine a grade 10 pill? He was definitely lying. Teacher Jean was also somewhat skeptical. However, he was much more cultured than Teacher Dong. Although he had some doubts in his heart, he didn't reveal it. He even praised Yun Chujio a few times. In any case, whether or not this Mo Fongchao was a grade 10 alchemist would be revealed sooner or later. However, during the next question, Teacher Jean intentionally asked Yun Chujio twice. Each time, Yun Chujio's answers were not only accurate, but she also had her own opinions. Instructor Jean was increasingly convinced that this Mo Fongchao was not lying and that she had quite the talent to refine pills. Yun Chujio had revealed a little bit of her edge, so she naturally had a motive. She had promised the Great Elder to help her find a level 27 transformation life creation pill. If she wanted to obtain the pill, there were only two ways. One was for her to refine it herself, and the other was for someone else to help her refine it. Compared to finding someone to help her, she was more inclined to refine it herself. If she followed the normal curriculum of Xingtian Academy, it would probably take a long time before she could improve her pill refinement level. Therefore, she wanted to attract Teacher Jean's attention and then think of a way to eat a small meal to quickly improve her pill refinement level. Yun Chujio's strategy was obviously successful. In the first class, Teacher Jean had a good impression of Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio believed that she would definitely become Teacher Jean's favorite disciple in the future. After the lesson, Yun Chujio and the other two went to the cafeteria to have lunch. Little Jio, don't forget to look for Teacher Du, Jean Ji reminded her. I'll remember it. After I wake up and take a nap, I'll go see Teacher Du. Yun Chujio put down her bowl and chopsticks and stretched. Jinji glared at Yun Chujio. Why are you taking a nap? Go after lunch. Otherwise, Teacher Du will be even angrier. Alright, I'll listen to you, Beauty Jinji. In fact, Teacher Du might also take a nap. Yun Chujio pouted and said. After lunch, Jinji and Shui Wuji returned to the dormitory, while Yun Chujio went to the Spirit Beast Garden to see Teacher Du. The Spirit Beast Garden was naturally not built in the central area of the academy. Otherwise, how could it stand the noise and smell? Therefore, the Spirit Beast Garden was located in the northwest corner of Xingtian Academy. Yun Chujio strolled to the Spirit Beast Garden. She explained the purpose of her visit to the handyman who was guarding the Spirit Beast Garden. After the handyman sent a message to Teacher Du, Yun Chujio was allowed to enter the Spirit Beast Garden. This student Teacher Du is in the Spirit Insect area. If you walk along this road, you will be able to see the sign of the Spirit Insect area in less than an hour, said the handyman. Yun Chujio nodded and thanked him. Then she strolled slowly as she strolled. The Spirit Beast Garden occupied a large area. There were many beast houses around the Bluestone Road. Those spirit beasts were all locked inside by the array. To put it bluntly, spirit beasts were demonic beasts that had been trained. They lacked a bit of wildness and were more docile. The spirit beasts in these beast houses were very calm. They should eat and play. It was somewhat similar to the zoo in her previous life. Yun Chujio had only read about many of the spirit beasts here in books, so this fellow would walk and read while stopping occasionally to take a closer look. Those spirit beasts were used to being looked at by people, so they didn't have any reaction. After the beast area was the bird area. Yun Chujio rarely had the opportunity to see spirit beasts, so she looked even more carefully. When she saw some spirit beast eggs, this fellow couldn't help but wipe his saliva. It had been a long time since he had eaten steamed egg custard. No matter what, he had to go to the canteen to order a night of steamed egg custard to eat. It was supposed to take an hour, but this guy had walked for 2 hours before he reached the spirit insect area. Teacher Du? Teacher Du? Are you there? Yun Chujio did not see anyone, so she pulled her neck and shouted. Noisy! Quickly shut up. What if you scare the larvae? As she spoke, a square-faced old man walked out from a beast house. The old man's expression was slightly displeased. It was obvious that he was dissatisfied with Yun Chujio's behavior. Yun Chujio touched her nose and felt that she was in the wrong. She quickly said, Teacher Du, I was wrong. I will definitely pay attention next time. Are the larvae of the spiritual insects very timid? Teacher Du saw that Yun Chujio's attitude of admitting her mistake was not bad. His expression softened a little. They are divided into different species. Some of the larvae of the spiritual insects are very timid, but some of the larvae are not a hindrance. For example, the larvae of the 3-diet herbivorous ants are very timid, while the larvae of the 3-colored butterfly are very courageous. From this encounter, Yun Chujio could basically judge Teacher Du's character. He was a rigid learning addict. Needless to say, he was rigid. One could tell from his facial features that he didn't have a smile on his face. Other people would stay in their own courtyards without classes, but this one stayed in the Spirit Beast Garden. Moreover, when he talked about spirit beasts, his eyes lit up. He was simply obsessed with spirit beasts. Teacher Du, spirit beasts are very popular among everyone. Can the attack power of these spirit insects compare to theirs? The best way to quickly close the distance between him and the learning addict was naturally to discuss academic issues. Sure enough, when Teacher Du heard Yun Chujio's question, he started to talk non-stop. Although the individual attack power of the spirit insects is not very strong, the spirit insects live in groups. If one can't do it, there will be hundreds or thousands of them. It's just that the spirit insects are not easy to control, so very few people raise them. At first, Yun Chujio was still standing and listening respectfully. Later, she saw that Teacher Du was collecting a lot of information. From the attack power of the spiritual insects to the species of the spiritual insects, and then to the characteristics of the population of the spiritual insects. It seemed that he meant it would probably not be able to stop for a few hours. Yun Chujio simply took out 2 chairs and sat on one by herself. She let Teacher Du sit on one and continued listening to Teacher Du's long story. Although what Teacher Du said was no longer Yun Chujio's question, Yun Chujio still listened with great interest. Many of what Teacher Du said was the first time she heard it, so she treated it as learning. Just as Teacher Du was talking non-stop, a handyman walked over. Teacher Du, it's time to cut the honey. Please drive away the red-eyed poisonous tail bees. Teacher Du realized that he had been talking for 2 hours, and his face was a little embarrassed. Yun Chujio naturally put away the 2 chairs and said sincerely, "Thank you for your explanation, Teacher Du. I've learned a lot today. Well, if you have something to do first, I'll just wait by the side." Although Teacher Du's impression of Yun Chujio had changed, he felt that he should still scold her, so he said, "Come with me to the beehive first. We'll talk about your leave later." Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. This Teacher Du was really inflexible. He could have just asked her to go back, but he still had to ask her about it. Yun Chujio had no choice but to follow Teacher Du and the servant to the beehive. When they reached the place, Yun Chujio could not help but be surprised. She thought that the beehive was just a beast house, but she did not expect that the so-called beehive was a large garden. The garden was planted with flowering plants and trees, and the flowering period was different. This way the red-eyed venomous tail bees could collect honey at any time. "You guys wait outside first. After I drive the red-eyed venomous tail bees into the array, you guys can go in," Teacher Du said seriously. After Teacher Du finished speaking, he took out the jade token to open the beehive and walked in. The scarlet-eyed venomous-tailed bees were extremely ferocious. When they saw Teacher Du enter, they hummed and attacked Teacher Du. After Teacher Du set up the spiritual energy barrier, he spent a lot of effort to drive the bees into an array formation. After Teacher Du set up the array formation, he let Yun Chujio and the handyman enter. The handyman went to the beehive and started to get the honey. Yun Chujio sniffed. "Oh my, the honey made by the scarlet-eyed venomous tail bee smells good. I wonder what it tastes like." The servant rolled his eyes and said with a smile, "Teacher Du, is the honey of the scarlet-eyed venomous tail bee poisonous? What effect does it have?" Although the scarlet-eyed venomous tail bee has poisonous needles, its honey is not poisonous. Not only is it not poisonous, but it is also a rare high-level ingredient. The Academy harvests the honey regularly to serve the distinguished guests. Yun Chujio nodded and said shamelessly, "Teacher Du, is this honey really as good as you said? Can I try it? I just want to taste a little bit." Teacher Du was so angry that he was amused, but he still agreed. "Get yourself a small piece of the beehive and try it." Hearing Teacher Du's words, Yun Chujio's image of Teacher Du suddenly became high and mighty in her heart. So what if he was old-fashioned? At least he had a good heart. Yun Chujio could not wait to jump to the side of the handyman. The beehive was very large, and the handyman was carefully cutting off the outer part of the beehive. Then he was stunned to find that the little girl took out a large kitchen knife and began to cut the beehive that had the most honey. The handyman didn't know what was going on. He thought it was Teacher Du's instructions, so he was stunned for a moment before continuing his work. Teacher Du went to the other side of the garden to check on a spirit plant that was about to bloom. That spirit plant was quite a distance away from the hive, so Teacher Du didn't notice this guy's shameless behavior at all. Teacher Du did not notice it, but it did not mean that the queen bee in the beehive did not notice it. The queen bee was mainly to take care of the larvae, so under normal circumstances she would not care if some of the edge of the beehive was cut off. The remaining nectar was enough for it to raise its offspring. Therefore, every time the handyman took the beehive, he would cut off the edge of the beehive, and the queen bee would turn a blind eye to it. However, the queen bee found that Yun Chujio did not follow the rules and was cutting the beehive that had the most honey. It was anxious. After the queen bee turned her fat body around, the poisonous needle on her tail quickly stabbed at Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio was busy cutting, but she did not expect that there was a queen bee hidden inside and was stabbed by the poisonous needle. The servant screamed in fear. He threw the tools he used to cut the honey on the ground and went to find Teacher Du. The red-eyed poisonous tail bee was very poisonous, and the queen bee was even more poisonous. If she couldn't take the antidote immediately after being poisoned, she would die in less than 15 minutes. Yun Chujio frowned. The poisonous needle of the queen bee was as thick as a little finger. A bloody hole appeared on Yun Chujio's arm and blood started to ooze out. "Damn it! I just got some honey. Do you have to be so cruel? Get out here." Yun Chujio was so angry that she pulled the bee queen's poisonous needle out of the beehive. The poisonous needle was stopped. The bee queen wanted to use the needle on her mouth to stab Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio picked up the kitchen knife and cut the needle off the bee queen's mouth. The queen bee was really at her wits' end. She resigned herself to her fate and did not move. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth. Damn it, since she had already paid the price of blood, she naturally could not let it go so easily. Therefore this guy directly forced the queen bee to establish a temporary contract with her. Yun Chujio caught a glimpse of Teacher Du running over. She blinked her eyes and stuffed the queen bee into the beehive. Then she put the queen bee's broken stinger into her storage ring. The bee queen took out another pill to stop the bleeding and swallowed it. Then she picked up the big kitchen knife and continued to chop the beehive. The bee queen dared to be angry but did not dare to say anything. She originally thought that a poisonous needle would be enough to poison this greedy little girl to death. Who would have thought that not only was she not poisoned to death, but she even forced her to establish a temporary contract. She was really unlucky. As for the sharp beak that was cut off by Yun Chujio, it was not a big deal. It would grow back in 10 days to half a month. When Teacher Du heard the report from the servant, his head buzzed. The scarlet-eyed venomous tail bee queen was extremely poisonous. If he delayed the time to take the antidote, the little girl's life would be over. Therefore he rushed over with all his might. In the end he saw that Yun Chujio was not only fine but she was also hacking at the beehive. Mo Feng Chao, you are fine? Yun Chujio stretched out her right arm. The damn queen bee stabbed me once, but it still has a conscience and did not use poison. Otherwise I would be finished. Teacher Du was stunned. He saw that there was indeed a wound on Yun Chujio's right arm, but it had already begun to scab. It was likely that she had taken a good hemostatic pill. However, the queen bee did not use poison? How was this possible? While Teacher Du was in a daze, Yun Chujio finally cut off the beehive as she wished. She put it into her storage ring naturally and continued to cut the beehive. The servant ran over while panting. He was also stunned when he saw that Yun Chujio was safe and sound. This little girl was really lucky. How could she be safe and sound? Teacher Du finally came back to his senses. When he saw that Yun Chujio was still persistently cutting the beehive, he angrily said, "Stop. Didn't you already cut off a piece of it?" Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. She said with a grievance, "Teacher Du, I'm cutting it for you. You've worked hard to take care of the beehive. It's only right for you to taste some honey. Moreover, you can also check if there are any changes in the quality of the honey." Teacher Du choked. Although he didn't agree with her behavior, he was still a little touched. He softened his tone and said, "There's no need to cut such a big piece to check the quality of the honey. Besides, it's okay to cut the edge of the hive. If you cut the hive inside, the queen will be angry. Be careful that it doesn't sting you again and then you'll have to use poison." Yun Chujio said with a smile, "I have already made an agreement with the queen bee. It stung me once and felt very guilty, so it won't mind if I cut down 2 beehives. Queen bee, tell me, do you not mind at all? If you agree, just scream." Unlike the bees in the secular world, the red-eyed venomous-tailed bees could make a sound. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, the queen bee reluctantly cried out. Teacher Du and the servant could not help but click their tongues in wonder. The queen bee actually agreed to chop the beehive inside? This was too unbelievable. One had to know that the part that Yun Chujio chopped was the part with the most honey, and the queen bee usually protected it very tightly. Previously, a servant accidentally cut a little bit and was stabbed by the queen bee with a poisonous needle. Fortunately, the rescue was timely and he managed to save his life. While the two of them were in a daze, Yun Chujio had already chopped off a large piece of the beehive. She broke off a piece and began to chew on it. It was not in vain for her to pay the price of blood. The taste was indeed excellent. The corner of Teacher Du's eyes twitched. This little girl was good in every way, but she was too greedy. Teacher, do you have a taste too? The taste of this honey is really good. Yun Chujio handed the beehive in her hand to Teacher Du. Teacher Du shook his head. Keep it for yourself. No matter what, it was my negligence that caused you to be injured. This beehive will be your compensation. Su Dong, don't tell anyone about what happened today, understand? The handyman named Su Dong had received Teacher Du's favor, so he naturally agreed without hesitation. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed. After putting the beehive into her storage ring, she said with a smile, "Uncle Su, I was naughty today and caused you to be frightened. Take this little spirit stone as a token of my appreciation." As Yun Chujio said that, she passed the 5,000 high-grade spirit stones to the servant. The servant was shocked. This was too much. Uncle Su, don't decline. Only when you accept these spirit stones will I feel slightly better. Yun Chujio said with a smile. The servant naturally understood that this was hush money. Seeing that Teacher Du didn't say anything, he thanked him and accepted the spirit stones. After cutting off a sufficient number of beehives, the handyman bade farewell and left. Teacher Du's expression immediately darkened and he said unhappily, Mo Fangchao, there was a handyman present just now, so I can't say much. Do you know your mistake? Yun Chujio was a little regretful. It was said that birds die for food. If she died because of greed, it would be a laughing stock. She felt that her spiritual power was much higher than that of the scarlet-eyed venomous tail wasp. That was why she was willing to reap the honey. I know my mistake. I shouldn't have been greedy, I shouldn't have cut off such a large piece of the beehive, and I shouldn't have established a temporary contract with the queen bee. I was wrong, I was so wrong. What? Say that again. You said that you established a temporary contract with the queen bee? Teacher Du shouted in disbelief. Yes. Yun Chujio was a little dumbfounded. The reason why she confessed was firstly because she felt that Teacher Du was a good person, and he even said that it was his responsibility that she was injured, and he also told the odd job workers not to talk about it. Secondly, she felt that this scarlet-eyed venomous-tailed bee queen was only a 33rd tier spiritual insect, so establishing a temporary contract was not a big deal. Teacher Du was obviously still in disbelief. Since you said that you established a spirit stone contract with the bee queen, let it come out of the hive. Yun Chujio had no choice but to order the bee queen to climb out of the hive. The bee queen felt that she was really out of luck today. Not only did she lose 2 large beehives, but her sharp beak was also chopped off by someone. Most importantly, she was actually temporarily contracted by this wretched girl. Now he had to go out and lose face. A bee queen without a sharp beak. Sob, how was he going to survive in the future? Teacher Du was stunned when he saw the bee queen climbing out of the beehives. It really came out? But this, why was the bee queen's sharp beak gone? Could it have been broken by him? Teacher Du, do you believe me now? I have established a temporary contract with the queen bee. In the future, when Su Dong comes to fetch the honey, you don't have to do anything. I will ask the queen bee to drive those worker bees to the array area, Yun Chujio said with a smile. Teacher Du looked at Yun Chujio, then looked at the queen bee without a sharp beak and said in a low voice, Mo Fangchao, do you know why I was surprised when I heard that you had established a temporary contract with the queen bee? Yun Chujio shook her head. I don't know. Isn't this bee queen just a level 33 spiritual insect? What's so great about it? First, level 33 is equivalent to the 4th to 5th level of the spiritual profound realm for human cultivators. Beast taming techniques can only be used to control beasts that are lower in level than your spiritual power. You are only at the 1st level of the spiritual profound realm, but you can actually control beasts that are higher in level than your spiritual power. This is simply unbelievable. Yun Chujio secretly cursed in her heart. She was really smart all her life, but she actually forgot this point in a moment of confusion. However, it didn't matter. She was already able to control beasts that were higher in level than her own spiritual power. The second point is also the most important point. Spiritual insects are different from spiritual beasts and spiritual birds. No cultivator has ever been able to establish a contract with an adult or larva. Those who raise spiritual insects can only establish a contract with the eggs of the insects. After the eggs hatch, they will become their spiritual pets. This is the reason why there are very few people raising the spiritual insects. After all, it takes too long to wait for the eggs to mature. Yun Chujio touched her nose. Teacher Du, but I really established a temporary contract with the queen bee. What's going on? Teacher Du was also at a loss. Maybe it's because you have a heavenly thunder spirit root. This is not a trivial matter. Don't mention it to others. Yun Chujio nodded. It wasn't like there weren't any good people in Xingtian Academy. This Teacher Du wasn't bad. Although he was a rigid person, he didn't have any ill intentions. Cough, this fellow wouldn't admit it. The reason why she had a good impression of Teacher Du was because Teacher Du had given her 2 beehives. Teacher Du wanted to verify it again, so he released the worker bees from the array. Anyway, with him protecting Yun Chujio, he wouldn't hurt her. However, it was clear that he was thinking too much. With the queen bee's order, the worker bees were extremely obedient. They even formed a picture of a peach heart in the air. Hee teacher Do, how is it? These worker bees are quite obedient, Yun Chujio said proudly. The corner of teacher Du's eyes twitched violently. The scarlet-eyed poisonous tail wasp was a famous poisonous insect. Now it was used to make the little girl happy. It was really a waste of natural resources. After the two of them left the beehive, teacher Du remembered the original purpose of looking for Yun Chujio. Why did you skip class yesterday? Don't say any excuse of having diarrhea. Tell the truth. Teacher Du asked seriously. Yun Chujio naturally wouldn't say that she was struck by lightning. She pouted and said, yesterday my face had a layer of rash, so I wore a veil to cover my ugliness. I didn't expect that during the spiritual power class, Teacher Dong would insist that I take off my veil. If I didn't take it off, he would tell me to get out of the classroom and even scold me for being useless. I was so angry that I ran out of the classroom. Originally, I planned to go back to class for the second period. However, Wu Yun suddenly appeared in the sky. I was afraid that he would come and strike me. What if I implicate the other students? I thought for a moment and returned to my dormitory. After all, my dormitory was a separate courtyard. Even if I was struck, I wouldn't implicate others. Teacher Du, I really didn't mean to skip class. I guarantee that there won't be a next time. Teacher Du nodded his head in gratification. You little lass, although you are a little gluttonous and your personality is a little off, you are very kind. Forget it this time. Next time, even if you have to dodge the heavenly lightning, you have to tell the teacher in charge to avoid misunderstanding. Yun Chujio nodded her head and secretly gave herself 32 likes. Full marks. In the evening, Yun Chujio took out the honey and gave it to Shui Wuji and Jinji to eat. I exchanged it with fresh blood. You guys should try it. Shui Wuji and Jinji were stunned. What's going on? Yun Chujio told them everything, then she said, in the future, you'll have an excuse to go to the beehives. I'll make sure that you can eat fresh honey at any time. When I get close to Old Du, I'll see if there are any other good things to bring back for you. Although she was injured today, the harvest was still pretty good. There was no need to talk about the honey. After making friends with Teacher Du, we could start a special class in the future. The most important thing was that no one else could contract an adult or a larva, but I could. Maybe it would be useful in the future. Not to mention other things, raising a nest of spiritual bees to collect honey would be very good. Yun Chujio was talking. Shui Wuji said gloomily, little sister Jiao. I always thought that you were the smartest, but what did you do today? Just for a mouthful of food you got a hole in your arm. If something really happened to you, do you think it was worth it? If you really want to eat this bullshit honey, let's think of another way. Do you have to put yourself in danger? You're lucky. It's just a minor injury. What if that bee queen pricked your eye? Even if you're not afraid of poison, can you protect your eye? Little sister Jiao, I think you've been too complacent recently. Jinji, let's go. She can keep the honey for herself. Jinji's expression did not look good either. She glared at Yun Chujio and said, little Jiao, you're really too smart for your own good. Don't you know that there are queen bee and larvae in the beehive? You're lucky this time. It's just that the queen bee came out to attack. What if those larvae attacked you together when you dragged the queen bee? Will you be able to escape unscathed? Shui Wuji is right. It's because you've been gaining the upper hand in every aspect recently that you've become complacent. Think about it yourself. When Yun Chujio heard Shui Wuji and Jinji's words, she was stunned at first, then explained anxiously, I am not. You're not what? Your arm is not caused by gluttony? Don't you think that you're not afraid of anything as long as you're smart? Little sister Jiu, you're a smart person. You should reflect on yourself. After Shui Wuji said these words coldly, he ignored Yun Chujio and left. Jinji snorted coldly and left without looking back. Yun Chujio opened her mouth and said, You guys, sigh, itchy. Forget it if you don't want to eat. I'll eat it myself. This guy broke a piece of beehive and started chewing. He put it down after a few bites. He felt that it was tasteless, so he put the beehive into his storage ring. After washing up, she was not in the mood to cultivate. She lay on the bed in a daze. She knew that Shui Wuji and Jinji were doing this for her own good. They were afraid that she would be in danger because of her gluttony. She understood and would remember their kindness. But why did she still feel wronged? Why was her nose a little sore? Yes, she was gluttonous, but did they know why she had a special liking for food? Could they understand the fear of not having a next meal? Could they understand the fear of being beaten half to death by an old beggar just for half a steamed bun? In her previous life, ever since she had memories, the feeling of being bone deep in her marrow was hunger. Every day she thought about it to fill her stomach. If those beggars did not use her to win people's sympathy, she would have starved to death long ago. In order to eat and survive, she learned from all kinds of people to observe people's expressions and learn to flatter them. Others said that she was mentally strong and thick-skinned enough. Compared to her life, what was the point of being scolded or kicked? Fortunately, she was later chosen by the Secret Service through small means. That was how she escaped from the days of hunger. However, she also developed the habit of storing food and gluttonous eating. Her refrigerator was always full of food. Even her bedroom was full of food. Every time she went to a place, she would taste all the local delicacies. She would take a few hours' flight to eat authentic delicacies. It seemed that this was the only way for her to truly feel that she did not have to starve anymore. She would no longer be enveloped by those nightmares. Yun Chujio buried her head under the blanket and started to cry silently. She also wanted to live a noble and elegant life. She also wanted to live like snow on a high mountain. However, as an abandoned baby who was thrown into a beggar's nest and a person who lived for the sake of living, only food could give her the greatest sense of security. The four people in the spiritual beast bag saw Yun Chujio crying so sadly and looked at each other. In the end, it was Xiao Hanyo who said weakly, "Master, the past is the past. Didn't you say that people should look forward? You won't go hungry again in the future. At the very least, there's still the great void mystic realm." "I know. In fact, I haven't gone hungry since I became a special agent. It's mostly because of psychological reasons. You don't have to worry about me. I'll think about it carefully." "Master, gluttony isn't a problem. As long as you don't take risks for gluttony, so be it. Anyway, the gigolo can support you," said Xiao Hanyo. It would never admit that it said that because it was a glutton. Yun Chujio agreed and lay on the bed, recalling the recent events. Although she didn't want to admit it, Shui Wuji and Jinji were right. After she entered the Xingtian Academy, she seemed to have fallen into the same old habit again. Yun Chujio sighed. She had indeed gone overboard. Especially after she had advanced 3 levels, she felt that her current spiritual power was considered outstanding in the first grade. Moreover, she could refine pills and talismans, not to mention that she had eloquence that could talk the dead alive. She felt that the first grade could no longer contain her. She felt that those who opposed her were all scum and could be dealt with a little trick. "Wake up. Yun Chujio." Wujia's head and beauty Jinji were right. "You are nothing now. You are just a weak chicken. Think about the assassin you met outside the MO residence. You don't even have the strength to fight back. What if that person's master sends someone to kill you again? And that Yi Bingyu, will she let it go? Forget about all this. Mother's reason for being expelled from the Yi family back then and the cause of her death are all waiting for you to investigate. Furthermore, even though the matter with the Divine Devil Hall has temporarily come to an end, who knows when it will come back? That Su Yenran will definitely come looking for you to take revenge. Also, Big Brother Mermaid must have been trapped by a very powerful enemy and is still waiting for you to save him. Not to mention the pretty boy situation is even more dangerous. You're so weak now and there's nothing you can do to help, but you actually floated up. You're simply an idiot." The more Yun Chujio thought about it, the more she felt that she had forgotten herself. He was simply a little bastard. This fellow did not sleep well the whole night. Even if she did sleep, she would either dream about her experience of starving in her previous life or that everyone was accusing her of being lazy. The next day she got up with 2 dark circles under her eyes. She waited and waited, but Jinji did not come looking for her to go to the classroom. This fellow left the courtyard and went to Jinji's courtyard next door. He shouted a few times but no one responded. Shui Wuji's courtyard was also completely silent. This fellow was not stupid. He knew that Shui Wuji and Jinji had already left and dumped her. Yun Chujio pursed her lips. It seemed that these 2 people were determined to teach her a lesson. She had no choice but to walk towards the classroom in loneliness. When she reached the classroom, Shui Wuji and Jinji turned a blind eye to her as if they did not know her. Yun Chujio and the other 2 had always been the focus of the star class. When everyone saw Yun Chujio being isolated, they could not help but gloat. They did not expect them to fight among themselves. They deserved it. After 2 classes, Yun Chujio was about to ask Jinji and the others if they wanted to go to the canteen for a meal. She did not expect the 2 of them to ignore her and directly leave the classroom. Yun Chujio could only follow behind the 2 of them with her head drooping, looking like she had nothing to live for. Jinji glanced at them from the corner of her eyes and felt a little sad. Shui Wuji said in a low voice, "Don't you know? Little sister Jiu is good at pretending to be pitiful. This time we must teach her a lesson. Otherwise she might not be able to make trouble." Jinji nodded and hardened her heart to ignore Yun Chujio. During the meal, although Yun Chujio shamelessly sat with Jinji and the others, Shui Wuji and Jinji ignored her. After supervising the handyman to clean up the second-grade day classroom, Shui Wuji and Jinji quickly left without waiting for Yun Chujio, who had locked the door behind them. Yun Chujio stomped her feet. Forget it, there was no way a monk could run away from the temple. She would find them to apologize when she returned to the dormitory. Yun Chujio was not too anxious after thinking about this and strolled towards the dormitory. "Stop. Mo Fengchao, it's time for us to settle the score today." Yun Chujio looked up and saw a group of people standing in front of her. The one who spoke was Zhu Jingtai, whom she had beaten up previously. Yun Chujio was not in a good mood, so she was not in the mood to deal with him. She said coldly, "A good dog doesn't get in the way. Get out of the way." "Stupid girl, didn't you just bully me and my brother last time that we didn't have any points? You act arrogantly, so naturally someone will help us seek justice. Who is this? Do you know him?" Yun Chujio looked at the man that Zhu Jingtai was pointing at. The man was wearing the clothes of a second-year student. He looked arrogant and looked at Yun Chujio with disdain. "I don't know him and am not interested in knowing him. Get out of the way or I won't be polite." "Not polite? Aren't you just relying on your points? To tell you the truth, he Hongchuan Sr. He is my brother's good friend. He has 500 points, so it's more than enough to beat you up. If you don't want to be beaten up, immediately kneel down and apologize to my brother and me. Otherwise you won't have a good ending." Zhu Jingtai said arrogantly. Yun Chujio looked at He Hongchuan and said indifferently, "Senior He, what do you say?" He Hongchuan curled his lips. "Little girl, don't be too arrogant. Jingtai is my good friend's younger brother. If you beat him up, it would be a loss of face for me. However, since you are a woman, as long as you kneel down and admit your mistake, I will raise my hand and spare you. What if I say no? Since you refuse to accept the hard way, then I will teach you the rules of Xingtian Academy. All of you step back and hand her over to me." After He Hongchuan said that, he slapped Yun Chujio in the chest. He clearly had bad intentions. Seeing Yun Chujio's beautiful appearance, he had a devious thought and wanted to take advantage of her. Yun Chujio's eyes deepened. She was already in a bad mood, so when He Hongchuan bumped into her, he would naturally not be polite. Although she could not see through He Hongchuan's cultivation level as a second-year student, even if he was in the day class, he was only at the first level of the spiritual void tier. As long as she seized the opportunity, she would still have a way to win. Yun Chujio jumped to the side and dodged He Hongchuan's attack. She also kicked He Hongchuan's abdomen. He Hongchuan naturally would not sit still and wait for his death. He dodged to the side and the 2 of them tangled together. The 2 of them did not use their spiritual power, because once they used their spiritual power to attack, it would not be a matter of 200 points. It would be at least 400 points, and they might even be directly expelled. The commotion on this side quickly attracted many students to come over and watch. When they saw the 2 parties involved, they all had the same thought in their hearts. Fuck, it was this ink-fragrant grass again. TSKC, this Mo Fengchao is really a seed that can cause trouble. It's only been a few days, why is there a war again? Didn't you see that Zhu Jingtai? He's probably here to seek revenge from his backer. I know that He Hongchuan. He's a student from the second grade's day class. I think he found a spirit herb that the spirit herb garden needed during the last trial, and the academy rewarded him with a lot of points. No wonder he dared to fight with that Mo Fongbing. He has nothing to fear. This time Mo Fongbing has kicked an iron plate. It's useless for her to use points to blackmail him. Zhai Shanshan and Shi Luoxiao were also in the crowd. The two of them had already reconciled and their faces were filled with schadenfreude. He Hongchuan's spiritual power was said to be at Lingshu first layer, while that Mo Fongbing was only at Lingxian first layer. She was just waiting to be beaten up. Mo Fongbing stood beside the two of them and hesitated for a moment, but she still took out her identity jade token to inform Jin Ji. Mo Fongbing, what are you doing? Don't meddle in other people's business or Zhu Jingtai won't forgive you, Shi Luoxia said viciously. Mo Fongbing had no choice but to put away her identity jade token. She thought to herself, it's not that I don't want to save you, Mo Fongbing, it's just that I have no other choice. You better pray for yourself. At this time Yun Chujiao and He Hongchuan had been fighting for 15 minutes, but it was still difficult to determine the winner. The onlookers could not help but discuss, it doesn't make sense. Although both of them did not use their spiritual power, He Hongchuan's spiritual power level was much higher than Mo Fengkeo's, and his movement technique should be much faster than hers. Why did he not have the upper hand at all? I guess He Hongchuan didn't use his full strength. After all, he's a senior and his opponent is a little girl. Forget it. Look at the veins on his forehead. He must have used his full strength. He's just not as skilled as her. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, He Hongchuan became more and more anxious. He originally thought that he would be able to take down this little girl in a few moves, then tease her a little and take advantage of her at the same time. He didn't expect her to be so difficult to deal with. What should he do? If they continued to be entangled like this, all the previous efforts of the law enforcement team's instructors would be wasted. At this moment Yun Chujia's feet were unstable and a flaw was revealed. He Hongchuan was overjoyed and immediately stretched out his leg to kick Yun Chujia's lower abdomen. The onlookers could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. The lower abdomen was the most vulnerable part of the human body. If this kick landed, Mo Fengchao would definitely be seriously injured. Just when everyone thought that Yun Chujia would be seriously injured, they did not expect Yun Chujia's body to twist strangely and dodge He Hongchuan's kick. He Hongchuan's body could not control its balance due to the excessive force used. He could not help but lean forward. However, Yun Chujia turned behind him and gave him a fierce kick on the back. He Hongchuan was kicked more than 100 feet away. As soon as he got up, he was imprisoned by Yun Chujia. For a moment, everyone was unable to react. How did the situation turn around in such a short time? He Hongchuan, who was in the first layer of the spiritual void tier, was actually defeated by Mo Fengchao, who was in the first layer of the spiritual void tier. How was this possible? However, the truth was right in front of everyone's eyes. It was really unbelievable. If it were in the past, Yun Chujia would definitely extort some spirit stones from He Hongchuan and Zhu Jingtai. However, she was in a bad mood today, so she didn't have the mood to relax. Yun Chujia saw that there were people from the law enforcement team coming over. This guy covered it with his sleeve and grabbed the sharp beak of the red-eyed poisonous wasp that was cut off yesterday. He stabbed the wasp into He Hongchuan's heart and then jumped to the side. He Hongchuan cried out in pain. He jumped up and attacked Yun Chujia with his spiritual power. Bitch! How dare you hurt me? I'll kill you. Help! Help! This lunatic is going to kill someone. Yun Chujia only dodged and did not fight back. The law enforcement team was already here, but He Hongchuan actually used his spiritual power to attack. He was simply courting death. Sure enough, the teachers of the law enforcement team quickly controlled He Hongchuan and asked him about what happened. Yun Chujia told them the whole story. Teachers, I was completely defending myself. And as you have seen, He Hongchuan actually used spiritual power to attack. It is obvious that he wants to kill me. You have to help me, this weak little girl. The audience's eyes twitched. Forget it. You are the most powerful one. You hit your teacher and your classmate. You are a female bandit. Teacher, don't listen to Mo Fengkeo's nonsense. He stabbed my heart with a sharp weapon. Otherwise, I wouldn't have used my spiritual power to attack in a hurry. He Hongchuan knew that once the crime was proven, perhaps the 500 points would be gone. Yun Chujia had an innocent expression on her face. I stabbed you? Heaven and earth, when did I stab you? If I stabbed you, I would at least have a weapon. Who saw me draw my sword? The crowd shook their heads. They really didn't see Yun Chuju using a weapon. It wasn't you. Could it be that I stabbed myself? He Hongchuan pointed at his chest. Sure enough, his clothes were already dyed red with blood. Yun Chuju rolled her eyes. Maybe you were trying to escape punishment, so you put on a bitter act. After all, using spiritual power to bully classmates requires severe punishment. He Hongchuan took out a hemostasis pill and was about to swallow it when he heard Yun Chuju's words. He almost choked to death on the pill. You're talking nonsense. You were the one who stabbed me. I saw it. The teacher of the law enforcement department could not tell who was lying at the moment. At this moment, Yun Chuju said indifferently, to make a case there must be evidence. Since no one saw me stab you and you can't provide the murder weapon, what right do you have to accuse me? Even if I stab you with a dagger, there shouldn't be no clues, right? Teachers, you can ask the students here if I'm telling the truth. The teachers from the law enforcement office asked everyone, and everyone shook their heads. Indeed, they did not see any murder weapon used by Mo Fengchao. He was right. Even if it was a dagger, there should be a cold light or a hilt, however, no one saw it. The teacher from the law enforcement department looked at He Hongchuan with an unfriendly gaze. It was entirely possible that in order to reduce the punishment he had put on a show. Perhaps his heart was already injured, and in order to frame Mo Fengchao he had broken it again. You guys go back first. We will report this matter to Teacher Pang and then deal with it, said a teacher from the law enforcement department. Yun Chuju didn't care. After all, even if it was an injury test, as long as she refused to admit it, there was no way to convict her. No matter how he was punished, He Hongchuan's crime was more serious than hers. After the teacher from the law enforcement department left, Yun Chuju didn't pay attention to He Hongchuan. Instead, she looked at Zhu Jingtai coldly. The second time. Again and again, but not again and again. If you provoke me again, I will kill you. After Yun Chuju finished speaking, she walked away slowly. Zhu Jingtai felt a chill all over his body. He felt that Yun Chuju really had the intention to kill him just now. The way she looked at him was as if she was looking at a dead person. Yun Chuju went straight to the outside of Jinji's courtyard and shouted, "Beauty Jinji! Beauty Jinji! Come out quickly. I am being bullied. Ouch, my arm hurts." Although Jinji knew that it was possible that Yun Chuju lied to her, she was still a little worried and walked out of the courtyard. The moment she came out, she was hugged by Yun Chuju. "Beauty Jinji, I was wrong. I will never be greedy and risk my life again. I will never forget myself again. I have learned my lesson. Please forgive me." Jinji glared at her. "Are you serious?" "Yes. I am more serious than a pearl. I will keep my word. Don't mention it. Zhu Jingtai found someone called He Hongchuan to stop me. If I wasn't smart, I would have been seriously injured." "What happened? Are you okay?" Jinji asked anxiously. Yun Chuju told her the whole story and successfully diverted Jinji's attention. After dealing with Jinji, Yun Chuju used the same trick to deal with Xue Wuji. This small incident was considered to be over. The next day, the law enforcement department announced the results of the punishment. Yun Chuju was acting in self-defense and did not deal with it. He Hongchuan bullied his classmate and used his spiritual power to attack. The plot was bad and 400 points were deducted. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.